Our ongoing inquiry was propelled by Representative Valeriano's demand to look into the Vice President's non-transparency and refusal to answer questions by the legislative on her utilization of public funds entrusted to her office, and the observation manifested by Representative Luistro concerning issues plaguing DepEd's budget utilization. Unfortunately, in the past 4 hearings of the Blue Ribbon Committee, all of the public officials involved in the utilization of public funds in the OVP, including confidential funds that were granted to it in 2022 and 2023, have not graced us with their presence. Nevertheless, we have diligently inquired into and examined available documents from the COA, DBM, and other government agencies in our past 4 hearings, and we are fortunate that other public officials from DepEd, COA, DBM, BTR, and even the AFP have provided valuable assistance as resource persons in our investigation to help us piece together and verify how public funds have been used in the DepEd and the OVP. Ngunit marami pa po tayong katanungan ukol sa pinaggamitan ng ating public funds. Ang mga dokumentong nakalap natin ay hindi pa lubusang naipaliwanag. Halimbawa, kapansin-pansin na sa mga liquidation report ng confidential funds ng OVP ay pinalalabas rito na may confidential funds na napunta umano sa provision of medical and food aid bilang rewards. Nahigit o iba pa sa mga nire-report na medical at food aid ng OVP ng DepEd na may ginamit na confidential fund ng DepEd na may ginamit na confidential fund sa mga youth leadership summits na kanilang regular na isinasagawa. What we needed were answers from the Office of the Vice President and those persons who were themselves involved in the utilization of public funds, particularly the confidential funds of the OVP and DepEd. Makilang beses nilang iginigiit na nakasaad na ang kanilang mga paliwanag sa mga dokumenteng isinumite na nila sa COA. Ngunit sa ating mga nakita sa pagdinig na ito, hindi sapat na nagsumite lamang sila ng mga dokumento sa COA. Lalong-lalo na kapag ang mga dokumentong ito mismo ang kino-question or hinahanapan ng paliwanag. There are questions that the documents themselves can't answer. This is why we need the presence of these officials. Sila lang po makakasagot sa mga katanungan natin. Nais nating maging patas. Napakaraming pagkakataon na ang binibigay sa OVP, more than sufficient opportunity, ika nga. Ngunit hindi naman napapalampas ang anumang pagharang sa lehislatura na alamin kung saan ginastos ang pondo ng bayan. Sa panglimang pagkakataon ay pinatawag po natin uli ang mga concerned officials ng OVP, pati ang Special Disbursing Officer ng DepEd na si Edward Fajarda upang magbigay linaw sa mga dokumentong nakalap ng ating investigasyon. Sa araw na ito, hindi po muna tayo nag-iimbita ng ibang resource person at nang mabigyan natin ng sapat na oras ang lahat ng mga katanungan sa mga pinatawag natin na mga officials ng OVP. At magkaroon din sila ng sapat na oras para sumagot sa ating mga katanungan. Maraming salamat po. We will now proceed to the...
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
May I be
Congressman
recognized,
Jill.
Mr. Chair?
Recognized.
Before we proceed with our deliberation, may I just raise this concern, Mr. Chair? On our agenda for today, item number 3, number 2, which refers to the motu proprio inquiry or inquiry on the manifestation of Representative Jervil Jinky Beatrix Luistro was made on September 10, 2024. And I am certain, Mr. Chair, that this is a result of a typographical or clerical error which was indicated in today's agenda. Given that, Mr. Chair, may I ask that the agenda be amended to correct this typographical or clerical error and reflect the actual and true date in accordance with Section 106 of the Rules of Procedure of the 19th Congress, which states, when any matter is under consideration, a motion to amend and a further motion to amend the amendatory motion shall be in order. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Again, Mr. Chair, in addition, considering that there's this clerical error in relation to this agenda, I move that my motion be extended to all agenda and or transcript of proceedings for these proceedings of the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. In particular, Mr. Chair, I move that the committee secretary review the agenda and transcript of proceedings dated September 18, September 25, October 17, and November 5. To be precise, Mr. Chair, I am asking that any reference to the date of Congressman Luis Tro's manifestation subject of the motu proprio inquiry be reflected as having been made on September 2, 2024, the actual date of the Committee on Appropriations budget deliberation, and not September 10, 2024, or any other date. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any second to the motion?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Any other concerns? Meron pa po ba? There's none. We will now proceed to the next item in the agenda. We will now proceed to the interpellation proper. The first to interpolate is Congressman Ramon Rodriguez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to direct my first questions. Well, at least, first and foremost, we'd like to express our gratitude for our resource persons who have attended here. I know for the most part of our hearing, we've been discussing about the attendance of the other resource persons, and I hope on the next hearing we can do the same. Na nandito po sila. But in the meantime, I think we would like, siguro I will start, Mr. Chair, to direct my questions to Miss Julieta Villa del Rey. Good morning po. Mr. Chair, if I may proceed.
Yes, please proceed.
Mr. Chair, before other matters po, no, on what we have in the agenda, just some preliminary matters on, I believe you have submitted, Mr. Chair, some statements together with Attorney Sanchez to this committee. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
Good morning, Your
Attorney
Honor.
Julieta,
Yes,
you're recognized.
I submitted
Yes.
a statement po.
Thank you. I'd like to focus on some procedural matters po
Ma'am,
muna on that statement.
pakilakasan po ninyo at ilapit po ninyo yung mic para marinig po kayo.
Yes.
Thank you po.
Good morning, Your Honors. It may be allowed to read my statement.
Mr. Chair, in the interest of time, I think we've had this in advance and we were able to read it. And I think we're aware if we may proceed with the questioning, unless the committee members would like to hear the statement. Parang hindi naman po.
Yung statement po bang babasahin ninyo, yun din po yung sinubmit ninyo sa amin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, nabasa na po namin lahat yon. So, we will proceed to the interpellation. Yes, please
Thank you.
continue.
So just,
Congressman Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Villa del Rey po, no? Just working on the statement po, no? May I just like to ask, how do you know po si Attorney Abella?
Attorney,
Abella po.
he is our counsel, Your Honor.
He's your counsel?
Abelia.
Attorney Abella?
I don't know Attorney Abelia, sir.
You don't know an Attorney Abella? Attorney Rochelle Abella?
No, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, may we ask the Attorney Sanchez? Do you know Mr. Attorney Abella?
Your Honor, yes, Mr. Chair. Attorney Abella is one of the staff in the Office of the Vice President.
Oh, one of the staff in the Office of the Vice President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Back to Ms. Villa del Rey. Is it more familiar now to you po?
Hindi po ako masyadong familiar sa lahat ng employees of the Office of the Vice President.
Ms. Sanchez, I hope you don't mind, Mr. Chair. I know it's unorthodox, but I'd like to, because of the point I'm driving at, I'd like to toss in between the two resource persons one. So just go quickly between them.
Please continue.
Attorney Sanchez, through the chair, most respectfully. Si Attorney Abella, you've known Attorney Abella for quite some time.
Your Honor, yes, Your Honor. She joined the OVP, I think, sometime this year, if I am correct, Your Honor.
Can you describe how she looks po ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Attorney Abella is fairly tall and slim.
Okay. Are there a lot of attorneys in the office of the OVP?
Currently, Your Honor, there are only around 4 attorneys under the Legal Affairs Division. But there are other lawyers in the Office of the Vice President performing other functions, Your Honor.
Would you consider Attorney Abella a fairly prominent lawyer in the OVP? Is she all over the place po ba? Or?
No, Your Honor. Attorney Abella does not report daily at the Office of the Vice President. Her tasks, from what I know, because I am not the head of the Legal Affairs Division, are mainly on execution of non-disclosure agreements and other documents and contracts for the Office of the Vice President, Your Honor.
Okay, so si Attorney Abella is mostly tasked with preparation of NDAs and you mentioned, sorry, can you repeat it for us, please?
Contracts
Contracts.
and other documents, Your Honor.
Is she also tasked with preparing statements for
I'm not
the
aware,
OVP?
Your Honor.
But she, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Attorney Abella is a person who, although is not on site, would sometimes be on site.
Most of the days, I think, in the week, she is on site, Your Honor.
And her office is her external office, would you know kung saan po ito?
No, Your Honor.
No, so just the internal office. And
Yes,
all
Your
of your interactions with Attorney Abella have been inside the office of the OVP.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've never interacted with Attorney Abella outside the OVP.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to return my question po to Ms. Villa Del Rey. After the description po, no?
Attorney Roch, I will just like to interject
Of
in line
course.
with your line of questioning. Saan po ba yung official office po ni OVP?
Mr. Chair, the official office of the OVP is at the 11th floor, Robinson Cybergate Plaza, Mandaluyong City. Your Honor.
Mandaluyong?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Villa Del Rey, so after the descriptions, given the job description and actual physical description and office description of Ms. Abella, hindi pa rin po familiar po sa inyo?
I remember now, Your Honor, si Attorney Abella po is once pumunta sa office.
Once
accounting.
pumunta sa office. In any instance, did you go to her office?
No, sir. She went to my office.
To the office. What was the concern po kung why she went to your office?
Ang natatandaan ko lang po naging interaction niya sa akin is kinumusta niya ako.
Nothing official? Has she not done anything, preparation of any documents of any kind for you, Ms. Villa Del Rey?
None, sir.
Congressman Roch, for a while. Saan po yung office ninyo?
Same office po, Cybergate Plaza, Mandaluyong.
So, doon din po. So, doon din po yung office ni Attorney Abella. Tama din po. As staff of the OVP. Tama po ba? Attorney Sanchez, tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Please continue, Congressman Roch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Villa Del Rey, you've confirmed that once po you've interacted with Attorney Abella. Si Attorney Sanchez po, through the Honorable Chairman, have you had any recent interactions with Attorney Abella?
Your Honor, from time to time, Your Honor, regarding work.
More
Your Honor.
specifically, do you recall having an interaction with Attorney Abella last November 9?
Your Honor, through phone conversation, Your Honor, she asked me to send a copy of my ID, Your Honor.
Copy of your ID. Would you know the purpose of the copy of the ID?
I think, Your Honor, it is for her to notarize the statement that I executed, Your Honor.
And you did not have an interaction with her aside from the phone call?
Phone call only, Your Honor.
Ms. Villa Del Rey, do you recall a similar interaction with Attorney Abella noong November 9 po?
November 9, Your Honor, yes. When she asked to also send a copy of my ID.
Okay. And you are aware of the purpose also was to notarize po? Is it the same purpose as Attorney Sanchez?
Yes, Your Honor, to notarize po itong statement.
Can you clarify po for us, this statement, this is of your own volition, tama po ba?
Tama po.
And you prepared this yourself?
Tama po.
And you sent this to Attorney Abella?
Your Honor.
Pinadala mo po ito kay Attorney Abella?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you did not appear personally to have it notarized?
Pinadala ko po ito sa Office of the Legal Affairs.
Pinadala sa Office of Legal Affairs. And they did not ask for your physical presence for the signing of the document?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Another
Attorney-
clarification. Where were you when you received a phone call from Attorney Abella? You were in your office?
I was in my office, Your Honor.
In
Mandaluyong.
in Mandaluyong. How about you, Ma'am Villa Del Rey? Where were you?
Also in Mandaluyong, Your Honor.
Okay. In both dates, in both instances, November 9, you were both in Mandaluyong. Tama po ba? And that was the time when you received phone call from Attorney Abella. Tama po ba?
Your Honor, may I just correct? It was through the Chief of the Legal Affairs Division, Your Honor.
Ano po?
It was through the Chief of the Legal Affairs Division. She was on the phone with Attorney Abella, and she relayed the message. But I was with her at that time, Your Honor.
You were with
The Chief of the Legal Affairs Division.
Chief of the
Your
Legal Affairs
In Mandaluyong.
in Mandaluyong.
Yes,
How about
Your
you,
Honor.
ma'am?
Same. Same po.
In Mandaluyong din.
In Mandaluyong
Okay,
also,
thank
sir.
you po. Please continue, Congressman Roch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So proceeding from that, Attorney Sanchez, would you say you had the same instance, the same procedure for the notarization of your document? So you prepared the statement, you signed it, tapos pinadala na lang po.
Your Honor, I signed it at the time that, in front of the Chief of the Legal Affairs Division, Your Honor. I handed it over, Your Honor.
Okay, you signed it in front of the Chief of the Legal Affairs
Yes, Your
Division.
Honor.
Was Attorney Abella present?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I just like to have that procedural fact noted by the committee. Actually, I might be mistaken, but from my understanding, based on notarial rules, the affiant should actually sign the document in front of the notary. So it's just concerning po na they have that procedure in which they prepared the statement, they signed it, then pinadala na lang po. In fact, they admitted to the fact that the ID was just asked over the phone for the appointment of the notary. But to clarify po for the committee, this is not Unfortunately, this has become a practice sometimes for notarial services, and sometimes it's overlooked. However, what's important to stress and to bear in relation to the proceedings here is that Attorney Abella is not only notarizing a regular statement. This is a statement before this House. And aside from that, Attorney Abella's signature, Attorney Abella's notarization actually appears in other significant documents. I'm not sure if Attorney Sanchez would be aware, being Chief of Admin po ba and Finance. And I'm not sure if Ms. Villa Del Rey is aware also, being Chief of Accountant. But Attorney Abella's notarial stamp, notarial imprimatur, appears not only in their statements, which they have prepared, but has actually appeared in, I believe, the liquidation reports po ng OVP confidential funds. So it brings the question, kung magkakaroon po, the whole purpose of the notarial procedure is to verify as officers of the court to allow persons to execute statements under oath, in a way. So the purpose of this is to preserve the integrity of the statements made. Now, if there's an issue regarding the procedural, if there are procedural lapses in the notarial services, then it puts into light the veracity, authenticity, and acceptability, admissibility of these documents. So what's stressing for me is that this isn't just only for the statements, which, don't get me wrong, Mr. Chair, this is important for us today because the statements that they'll be presenting is their official testimony to our questions here today, of course. But more importantly, the fact that the same Attorney Abella is the lawyer who notarized the OVP confidential fund certification, the DepEd. Sorry, Mr. Chair, Attorney Abella is in the office of the OVP. Tama po ba, Attorney Sanchez? Maybe clarify, since you're more familiar with Attorney Abella.
Attorney Sanchez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did she have a stint in the Department of Education?
I am not aware, Your Honor.
It's not your personal knowledge, but that's something for us to consider kasi nga po, her signature appears as the notarial, as the notary for the OVP confidential funds and the DepEd confidential fund certification, aside from the statements presented today. So I'm not sure, perhaps at the proper time, with the proper motion, should this committee deem wise, we might want to invite the Attorney Abella. Although this is not usual practice, I understand that in the courts, usually they would frown upon the act of having to present a notary as a witness. But given the fact that, for example, we can't even get the 9 OVP officials present, perhaps we can invite Attorney Abella, not only for her notarial stamp on the statements of Ms. Villa Del Rey and Attorney Sanchez, but also on the OVP confidential funds and DepEd confidential funds. This is just
Comsec, please take note of the manifestation of Congressman Gutierrez.
a procedural concern. But with that out of the way, Mr. Chair, I'd like now to proceed with some preliminary questions for Ms. Villa Del Rey. So, Mr. Chair, Ms. Villa Del Rey, kayo po yung Chief Accountant ng Office of the Vice President.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long na po kayo sa OVP?
Your Honor, I've been in the OVP since 1990, during the last year of VP Laurel.
VP Laurel pa po. So you are a career public servant.
Yes, Your Honor.
So from 1990, that would put you now at 34 years of service po. And in your 34 years of service, may you just quickly give us a rundown? Kailan po kayo naging Chief Accountant?
I was employed in the OVP in 1990. I became an OIC, I cannot recall, but I appointed Chief Accountant in 1998.
Oh, that's a quick rise po, no? From 1990 to 1998, kayo po yung naging Chief Accountant. So you have been the Chief Accountant for the OVP for how many administrations now po?
For at least seven po, 7 vice presidents.
And as the Chief Accountant, you are in charge of the accounting division, is that correct?
Tama po, Your Honor.
And part of your duties would include reviewing and processing the disbursements and liquidations of the OVP.
Tama po.
Before anything, I'd like to commend you for your long tenure of service. Maraming salamat po. Given that you're 6 administrations in, I'm pretty sure you are adept and an expert in your field. Given that you are, well experienced in your field, I'm sure you're familiar with yung tinatawag na government accounting manual. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you run down for the committee ano po yung requirements ng government accounting manual in relation to cash advances?
For the cash advances under the regular, Your Honor, there should be fund or allotment to cover the issuance of cash advance. There should be cash allocation. For the travel honor, Your Honor, hindi po required na banded siya, pero for activities, should be banded with the Bureau of the Treasury. There should be a special order designating special disbursing officer, Your Honor.
So for yung cash advances po natin, that in the yung GAM na sinasabi, this is the standards for accounting of the government, and this would apply generally to other agencies. Tama po ba?
Tama po.
Would the GAM on the provisions on cash advances, would that also apply to confidential funds?
No, Your Honor.
And why is that po? What is the standard that you use for for confidential funds?
For the confidential fund, Your Honor, it is covered by the Joint Circular 2015-01.
So, the same joint circular that if you've been following our committee hearings was cited by the ICFAO. Yun yung general basis po nila for confidential funds.
Tama po, Your Honor.
Are there provisions in the government accounting manual that would still suppletorily, in a way, apply to cash advances?
Wala po akong natatandaan, Your Honor.
Wala po.
Only the Joint Circular.
So there is no requirement that for cash advance for specific purpose or time-bound undertaking, that this should be recorded into the books of accounts as advances to special disbursing officers? Wala po kayong inonote na ganun po?
Can you repeat, Your Honor?
When you were talking of cash advances for specific purpose or a time-bound undertaking, I'm not sure, I'm not an accountant, but I think this is a very specific definition under the GAM. Tama po ba?
Apo.
Yeah, okay. So with that, do you record it in the books of accounts as advances to special disbursing officers?
Tama po, Your Honor.
So there are some provisions in the GAM that would apply. It's not purely in joint circular. Tama po ba? This is a procedure that's outlined in the GAM.
Tama po.
So suppletory naman pala po yung GAM, no? Nagagamit rin po siya even for confidential funds.
Possible po, Your Honor. Pero nakapokus po ako sa Joint Circular when it comes to confidential fund.
Okay. But do you recall recording yung advances ito to special disbursing officers? Yes, you do. And the relevant provisions actually for the GAM for confidential funds is Chapter 6, apparently. So the process of the cash advance, pagkatanggap po ng check, ini-encash po ito ng SDO. Tama po ba?
As I recall, Your Honor.
As you recall. In this instance, what is your participation po in the handing over of the check? Do you foresee the encashment? Do you oversee the depositing? Ano po yung inyong interaction with the SDO in relation to this?
Your Honor, ang naging task po ng accounting sa issuance ng cash advance is only for processing. For
Meaning,
processing of disbursement voucher, not for issuance of check.
not for the issues of the check, but the processing of the disbursement voucher. So ano po yung procedure for the processing of the disbursement voucher?
In the processing of a disbursement voucher for confidential fund, it should be supported by all the required supporting documents as stated or as required in the Joint Circular 2015-01.
So when you say po, hindi po kayo involved sa issuing of the check, are you somehow involved in the encashment or depositing of the check?
For encashment and depositing of the check, it is the SDO, Your
SDO.
Honor.
So no participation required on your part doon sa SDO. They don't need any clearance from you. They don't need you to sign off on anything. It's purely the responsibility of the SDO in line with the provisions of the joint circular. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Okay. With that, are you aware of the procedure? Just on personal knowledge, kapag tinatanggap na po ng SDO, of course, we'd like to ask the SDO himself or herself these questions, but given na wala po sila, we'd like to ask you as Chief Accountant, kasi po, I hope you understand, minsan nalilito rin po kami as not actually practitioners in this field. Marami pong accountants and auditors pala po, no, within one office. But it's understandable na special po in confidential funds. So in relation to confidential funds po, Ms. Villa del Rey, you mentioned that you have no participation in the encashment and no participation in depositing of any sorts. But are you aware of the procedure of the SDO? Ano pong ginagawa po niya pag nakatanggap ng cheque for the confidential funds?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, hindi ko po alam. Bali, ang task ko lang po talaga is to process the issuance of cash advance for
Okay.
the confidential fund.
Sige po. Ms. Villa del Rey, ayon po sa GAM, required pong mag-institute ng internal mechanisms or internal controls ng OVP to safeguard po yung mga cash advances. And I would assume this would also apply to confidential funds. Are you aware of any safeguards that are being implemented for the OVP's confidential funds?
For the regular funds, Your Honor, yes, we have po controls. Like it should be liquidated within 15 days from issuance or upon completion of the activity.
For the regular fund. But for confidential
fund.
funds, are you aware of any controls that you might have implemented as Chief Accountant?
Yes, Your Honor, according to Joint Circular, there should be reportorial requirements. Like for accounting, the issuance of cash advance is, or upon disbursement of the cash advance, it should be submitted to the audit team, resident auditor, within 7 days from issuance, to Your Honor, including all supporting documents.
Ms. Villa del Rey, when you mentioned resident auditor, you're talking about the resident auditor of the COA. Tama po ba?
Tama po.
Okay. So, do you have any participation in the vetting or authentication or going through the supporting documents ng confidential funds?
Supporting documents, Your Honor, for the issuance of cash advance.
Issuance of cash advance only. Pero for the liquidation, wala na po kayong kinalaman.
Wala na po, Your Honor.
So, you would not be involved with the documentary evidence of payment for yung mga acknowledgement receipts, etc., etc.
No, Your Honor. Based on joint circular, it should be the responsibility of the Special Disbursing Officer.
And never at any point, even procedurally, dumaan po itong mga SDs or DEPs sa kamay po ninyo. This is directly between the SDO and the resident auditor. Tama po ba?
The DBs of the issuance of cash advance, yun po ang dumaan sa accounting sa akin. Other DBs na nagkaroon ang disbursement ng confidential fund, hindi po dumaan sa accounting, Your Honor.
By DVs, you mean yung disbursement vouchers po? Tama.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you, as chief accountant, are you required to review a journal entry voucher?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does this apply for confidential funds?
Yes, Your Honor, upon recording of the issuance of cash advance.
So upon the issuance of cash advance, this is still related to the disbursement voucher lang po.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you review the journal entry voucher, you have to certify it. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So ano po yung nalalaman ng certification na ito?
For the certification of the issuance of cash advance, in the voucher, Your Honor, it is stated that there should be cash available and supporting documents complete and proper.
So when you issue po yung disbursement voucher, is it a requirement, for example? Because I understand yung ating confidential funds is, except for 2022 po, no, which was issued by virtue of yung contingent fund na nilipat, under the GAA po, yung confidential funds natin for 2023. Tama po. Is it a requirement in the subsequent disbursement vouchers that you would have to certify na inubos po yung previous quarter?
Yes, Your Honor, before the issuance of another cash advance.
And how do you verify po na naubos yung previous disbursement voucher, yung previous cash advance?
Sir, for the liquidation of previous cash advance, it is stated in the joint circular and also ito lang po, din po yung naging basis ko, the received transmittal copy of the supporting documents duly stamped by ICPAW.
Okay, so ang procedure po natin is the SDO will submit the liquidation report to the resident auditor, the ICFA will stamp, and then provide it po to you, Mr. Villadere. Is it provided to you by the SDO or by the COA po?
By the SDO, sir.
Si SDO. And when you receive this stamped copy po ng liquidation report, ministerial na lang po yung pag-issue po ninyo ng disbursement voucher for the next quarter. Tama po ba?
Not the liquidation report, Your
Oh,
Honor,
sorry.
only the transmittal. Listing po lahat ng documentary requirements, all reports and certifications submitted to ICPAW.
So yung listing na po ito, how many pages ang document na ito?
I think, kung tama pa yung pagkaka-recall ko, it's 3 pages po.
So manipis lang po. So talagang walang liquidation report, walang AR, walang SD. It's just the letter of transmittal lang po, parang ganun.
Tama po.
Okay. So in that case po, in relation to the GAM and the joint circular, what is it that you would record in the books as chief accountant? It's really just disbursement to the SDO.
Your Honor, ang recording ko po sa book is the issuance of the cash advance when issued to the SDO and the liquidation of the cash advance upon receipt of the transmittal duly received by ICPAW.
Okay. Ms. Villadere, as chief accountant, you would confirm that there is a general ledger.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the general ledger, the purpose is to keep a record of all of these. Would that include the supporting documents?
No, Your Honor.
So before you make an entry in the general ledger, do you have to go through the supporting documents?
Only for cash advance, Your Honor.
So for cash advance. In this case po, sa confidential funds, this is one such cash advance po, no? So
Yes.
before you enter in the general ledger, what documents would you be requiring before you make that entry in the general ledger?
Before entering into to the general ledger, sir, we will. The basis of our recording is the report of the checks issued from our cash division and the copy of the disbursement voucher, together with the supporting documents.
Okay, checks issued, disbursement voucher, and supporting documents. Can you give us an example? Ano po yung SDs that are relevant to this entry?
SD
Anong supporting documents
supporting
po na
documents.
binabanggit po ninyo?
Yes, sir. Well, for the issuance of cash advance, supporting documents required are a special order of the disbursing officer designated by the HOA, approved banding from the BTR, copy of the SARO and NCA, specimen signature of all signatories in DBs and ORS. What else? That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So really, it's related to disbursement lang talaga. Ms. Villadere, can you, I'm sorry, we're not too familiar, pero can you distinguish yung general and subsidiary ledger?
General ledger, sir, is the basis of the trial balance. Subsidiary ledger pertaining to the individual accounts.
And do you maintain a subsidiary ledger for the confidential funds?
For the SDO, Your Honor.
For the office of the SDO. And ano po yung lalabas po dito sa subsidiary ledger? It's just per check, per
Yes,
entry.
sir. The recording of the cash advance and upon liquidation, also the crediting of the cash advance.
Does the SDO have to report to you for entry into the subsidiary ledger, yung different tranches of which that whether they encash or deposit the quarterly confidential funds, or isang bagsakan lang po ito sa inyong ledger?
Isang report lang po. Isang report lang from report of checks issued.
Isang report lang po talaga, checks issued. So generally, in that subsidiary ledger for the SDO, ano pa po ang mga entries ninyo aside from dun sa confidential funds? Are there any other transactions or accounts that you have to record that concerns the SDO?
Your Honor, only the date of the check number, the details po, like if it is for the first quarter, second quarter, and the amount only.
So it's a quarterly thing po talaga. I know you answered this earlier, but just to clarify, so ang magre-reflect po sa subsidiary record is yung one-time cash. Hindi po siya daily releases or disbursements.
No,
Who
Your
would have the
Honor.
record of any daily release or disbursement?
Per JC, Your Honor, it is the SDO.
The SDO's responsibility. And I know it's no longer part of your responsibility, but of your personal knowledge, nagpapatulong po ba yung ating SDO sa inyo, ang SDO ng OVP, when it comes to recording things in as per requirement of the Joint Circular?
No, Your Honor.
So just to clarify, and the process is yung interaction po ninyo with the SDO is purely upon receipt of the request po ba yun, or yung transmittal, you will then certify into the ledger. Sorry, can you repeat again to us? As a summary na lang po, no? Kasi I know chinap-chap na po natin, pero give us a summary of your interactions with yung SDO in particular.
Actually po, wala po akong interaction sa SDO. Only the reports. When the disbursement voucher for cash advance is forwarded to accounting, wala po akong interaction sa SDO. When we recorded it in the books of accounts, wala din po. And when we liquidate it, wala din po because only through documents po kami nagbe-base.
Okay, documents na po. Okay, although you don't interact with the SDO particularly, personal knowledge po, in what instances do you interact with their office? Through documents. So this is purely for confidential funds only. Walang ibang entry, walang ibang transaction that would require documentation or certification on your part po.
For the liquidation, Your Honor, I signed the liquidation report.
Oh, you signed the liquidation report. And what is the purpose of your signature po sa liquidation report?
For the liquidation report, Your Honor, I certify that all supporting documents in the issuance of cash advance are proper and complete. Also in the transmittal forwarded, sir.
I understand po earlier you mentioned na as far as you're concerned with the general and subsidiary ledgers of the OVP, wala po kayong, hindi po dumadaan po sa inyo yung acknowledgement receipts, documentary evidence of payment, and other supporting documents. Sabi niyo po yun earlier, tama po ba?
Tama po.
But now you're saying po na in the liquidation report, you certify that you have reviewed all of these supporting documents.
The supporting documents, sir, that I mentioned is all supporting documents attached to the issuance of cash advance.
But you mentioned you signed yung liquidation report itself.
Only the liquidation report as annexed in the joint circular, Your Honor.
So yung liquidation report as annexed in the joint circular, and
Yes.
what you are certifying there is that you've gone through all of the supporting documents. Tama ba? So would this not include yung ating acknowledgement receipts and documentary evidence of payment?
Sir, in the JC, hindi po included sa responsibilities ng accountant ang review of the documents evidencing payments.
So, sorry, I hope you can forgive the confusion. No? Kasi earlier you mentioned when you go through the supporting documents and other, yung mga supporting documents lang, you were talking about for signing of the disbursement voucher to release the check po, no?
The cash advance.
The cash advance. But in this case of the liquidation report, this is already post-disbursement, tama po ba? The liquidation report is already talking about the quarter that has lapsed. So you are signing on supporting documents there. What supporting documents po are you certifying in that case?
Sir, the supporting documents of the liquidation, not necessarily po yung documents evidencing payments. It is under the responsibility only of the Special Disbursing Officer, and the audit of this is through ICPAO.
No, I understand what you're saying is that it's not necessarily your responsibility, but you do have a certification there that you have gone through all the supporting documents. So how do we distinguish which supporting documents are verified or certified or prepared by the SDO and which supporting documents are verified or prepared by the Chief Accountant? Could you please clarify to us po, which particular supporting documents are you certifying?
Yes, the supporting documents I certified po as complete and proper is the supporting documents also to be submitted sa ICPA, which is also the attached documents of the cash advance.
But the acknowledgement receipts and DEPs are also submitted to the ICFAO, is that correct?
Yes, sir, but it is through a sealed envelope signed by the SDO.
Okay, so the documents that are not sealed, in which you certify, would be specifically, could you enumerate for us? Sorry?
Yes, sir. The special order,
Special order.
the same attachment of the cash advance, special order, the approved banding, specimen signatures of all the signatories, the copy of the SBR, the physical and financial plan of the confidential plan.
Okay.
That's I can remember, Your Honor.
Thank you. Of course, marami po yan. So, Ms. Villadere, you mentioned that this is the same SDs that are in the disbursement voucher.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, kung ano po yung sinertify and sinubmit nyo for the disbursement voucher prior to the cash advance, yun rin po that is what you're referring to po na ina-attach ulit sa liquidation report submitting to the ICFAO. That is what you are certifying to.
Yes, Your
Although the
Honor.
terms in the certification are all documents. You are testifying now that it's only in relation to these particular documents that you have mentioned. Tama po.
Tama po.
Thank you po for the clarification, Ms. Villadere. Mr. Chair, if I would still have some time, I'd like to ask just a few preliminary questions to Attorney Sanchez.
Yes, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Sanchez, kayo po ay dinesignate bilang officer in charge, Chief of Staff of the OVP na inaprobahan ni VP. Tama po ba?
Mr. Chair, may I know the period covered, Mr. Chair?
I'm just referring to the Office Order number 2024-56. But if you'd like to testify about any period, you are free to answer. Hindi naman po to yes or no.
Mr. Chair, there are different periods, if I recall, that I was assigned as the OIC of the Office of the Chief of Staff here.
In which
Mr.
case
Chair.
po, can you please relate to this committee? What time periods po kayo ay naging OIC? And if you can confirm that OIC pa rin po kayo ngayon.
Mr. Chair, I cannot recall the specific periods, Mr. Chair, but I can trace the office orders or special orders designating me as the OIC, Mr. Chair.
Could you give us at least a ballpark, not figure, a ballpark duration? Which months po kayo naging Chief of OIC? And I'm sure if natapos po yung inyong pagiging OIC, that means may na-appoint na actual Chief of Staff. And then naging OIC naman po kayo. Am I understanding your story correctly?
No, Mr. Chair. I would just like to clarify that I am only appointed as the OIC for the Office of the Chief of Staff whenever the Chief of Staff and the Assistant Chief of Staff are not available in the office, Your Honor.
Okay, so it's a temporary thing.
Yes,
Hindi
Your
naman po
Honor.
siya yung dahil wala na yung Chief of Staff.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ang sabi po sa Office Order 2024-56 is mayroong travel ang Chief of Staff na si Attorney Zuleika Lopez at Assistant Chief of Staff na si Lemuel Ortonio on October 18, 2024. So let's zero in on this one time. Do you recall this? This order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you relate to us ano po yung official travel ni Attorney Lopez and the Assistant Chief of Staff Ortonio?
Your Honor, from what I recall, they had to travel to Davao, Your Honor.
To Davao. And would you
Yes.
recall the duration of this?
I do not recall, Your Honor. I can trace the travel order, Your Honor, and provide this committee with it, Your Honor.
One last preliminary question. Bilang OIC, would you say you're relatively capable or familiar with the office of at least of the Chief of Staff?
Your Honor, as OIC, I only perform functions which are specifically designated to me, Your Honor. So I still am able to get direct instructions from the Chief of Staff even during the period that she is not in the office, Your Honor.
Even when she is abroad?
Yes, Your Honor.
One more question. Bilang, sorry, can you clarify? Masyadong malit yung name tag. You are director for what department?
For Administrative and Financial Services Office, Your Honor.
Okay. Financial services. Do you have any interactions or any role in the disbursement of yung confidential funds?
Your Honor, my participation in the disbursement of confidential funds is just limited as one of the signatories of the checks for the cash advance, Your Honor.
So checks for the cash advance which are being verified by Ms. Villy Del Rey for disbursement lang.
Yes,
so
Your
you
Honor.
have no participation in yung tranches. For example, yung for 2022 of December, 125 million, kay Ms. Villy Del Rey, they will only record it as one whole 125 million. But as Director for Finance, would you have any knowledge as to the breakdown of that 125 million and live kung kailan to dinidisburse?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I have no personal knowledge on that matter.
Okay. Thank you very much, Attorney Sanchez. Mr. Chair, I'll now yield the floor to other interpellators. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman Gutierrez. The next interpolator is Congresswoman Pami Zamora. You are now recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'd like to direct my questions kay Ma'am, tama ba Julieta? Paano po i-pronounce?
Julieta Villa del Rey.
Hi, Ma'am Julieta Villa del Rey. Ma'am, binanggit mo na po kay Congressman Gutierrez na kayo po ang chief accountant under the OVP. Bilang chief accountant po, to whom are you directly under po? Kumbaga, sino po ang inyong immediate and direct supervisor?
Under the Director of APSO po, Your Honor, Administrative and Financial Services OPs.
I'm sorry, ma'am, mahina po ang pandinig ko. Pakiulit po.
Under the Director of Administrative and Financial Services OPs.
Okay. And bilang sa ilalim ka po nitong binanggit nyo, under ka ng Director for Administrative and Financial Services Office. Wait lang, ma'am. Can you confirm if this is the correct organizational chart of the OVP? Kung saan ka nabibilang?
Tama po, under the Director of APSO.
And tama po ba, ma'am, yung Director for Administrative and Financial Services ay yung katabi niyo po ngayon, si Ma'am Rosalyn L. Sanchez?
Tama po.
Okay. And on top of all of this ay ang Chief of Staff na si Miss Zulaika T. Lopez. Tama po?
Tama.
All right. Ma'am, bilang Chief Accountant, dumadaan po ba sa opisina ninyo yung mga pondo na pumapasok sa OVP?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. For the last quarter of 2022, ma'am, maaalala niyo po ba yung cheque na pumasok sa OVP? Last quarter of 2022.
Cheque.
Apo.
Wala po
Ako na po ang magpapaalala, ma'am. Ito po. 125 million po. Tama po ba? Pakibasa po. Tama po ba ang pagkakabasa ko na 125 million po siya?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Okay.
Pero, Your Honor, as I said earlier, hindi po dumadaan sa amin ang check payment, only the processing of disbursement voucher.
Opo. Opo, ma'am. Darating tayo dyan. So, ang tanong ko, ma'am, ang tanong ko, ma'am, kasi inunahan ako ni ma'am. Ang tanong ko sa iyo, sabi mo, processing lang of disbursement vouchers. Ang tanong ko ngayon, in any way, are you notified ba kapag may cheque na? Kasi sinabi mo kanina kay Kong Rog, assured dapat na may fund na or allocated budget for it. So, paano mo nasasabi yun? So, in a way, nanonotify ka na may cheque na.
Only sa report, Your Honor, report of checks issued.
Sa report mo lang natatanggap. Yun po ba?
Tama po.
So, hindi mo po masasabi sa akin, ma'am, kung ang checking ito ay, kung anong pinagdaanan po ng cheque na ito, kung ito po ba ay in-encash, dineposit.
No, Your Honor.
Is there anybody here who can answer? Kung ano pong pinagdaanan ng cheque na ito? All right. Can we go to the next slide? Meron po akong ipapakita ulit. Ma'am, magkano po yung nakasulat sa cheque na ito for the first quarter of 2023?
125 million, Your Honor.
125 million. And again, bilang chief accountant, sinasabi mo po kanina kay Congressman Gutierrez na hindi po dumadaan sa inyo to. At again, processing lang ng disbursement vouchers ang trabaho niyo po. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your Honor.
All right. At wala po sa ating kahit sino ditong makakasagot kung papaano po lumabas ang cheque na ito. Okay. Can we go to the next check, please? Oo. Ito naman, ma'am. Ay. For the next check, again, of 125 million, kay Ma'am Villa del Rey, again, so, hindi po ito again dumaan sa inyo.
No, Your Honor.
Ma'am Rosalyn Sanchez, ikaw po nakikita ko po, nagulat po ako, ikaw po ang nakapirma dito. Naalala niyo po bang pinirmahan niyo po ito?
Yes, Your Honor.
Pati pala yung first check, tinanong kita kanina, hindi mo naaalala. Okay, so anong nangyari sa check na ito, ma'am? Ma'am Rosalyn Sanchez.
Ma'am, may I just be, Your Honor, may I be clarified? I mentioned to Congressman Gutierrez earlier that I am the signatory, my participation for confidential
So you
funds is a
signed the check and then
signatory
you
for
don't know what
checks.
happened next?
Yes,
Is
Your
that what
Honor.
you're saying? All right, I'll take that answer. Okay. Mabalik ako kay Ma'am Villa del Rey. Ma'am Villa del Rey, as the Chief Accountant ng OVP mula early on, nakailang vice president ka na po, sinabi niyo po sa amin. Particular po kayo siguro talaga. In fact, nabanggit niyo kanina dun sa joint circular ng 2015. Tama po ba?
Tama po.
And you are very much aware of your responsibilities as agency accountant under the joint circular, particularly under Section 6.3.3.
Tama po, Your Honor.
Sa joint circular, ma'am, merong guidelines on the grant and liquidation of cash advance for confidential funds. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Kinukumpirma mo kanina, ma'am, na ayon sa kaalaman mo na kahit na hindi sa'yo dumaan ang cheque, di ba? Paulit-ulit mo pong sinabi, pero kinukumpirma mo pa rin na nakatanggap ng 125 million na confidential funds 4 times ang OVP. Tama po?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Okay. Ma'am Villa del Rey, aware ka naman po na kahit hindi po ikaw ang SDO, na liable ka pa rin po bilang chief accountant ng OVP. Kung sakaling mapatunayan na nagkaroon ng misuse ng confidential funds ang OVP. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your Honor, depending on the participation.
Under, kasi ma'am dun sa joint circular, yung liability mo ay katumbas ng liability ng SDO. Tama po ba yun, ma'am?
Tama po, as mentioned, depending on my participation.
Opo, kaso kanina tinatanong ka po ni Congressman Gutierrez, nung nagpirma ka po sa liquidation report, hindi naman po nakasulat doon na ito po ang pirma niyo, certified, supporting documents complete and proper. Yun po ang pinirmahan ninyo, ma'am. Tanong lang naman po yun. Under po ng joint circular, again, isa ka talaga dun sa 3 signatory. Ikaw po, yung SDO na si Ma'am Gina Acosta at ang Vice President. And dahil po sinacertify mo ang mga dokumento na isinumite at ay kumpleto, sapat bilang Chief Accountant, ikaw ay naging isang accountable officer. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Dahil po ma'am sa pagpirma mo sa receipt of payment, ikaw ay naging accountable sa custody at pag-safekeep ng mga funds na ito. Tama po ba ma'am?
No, Your Honor. Hindi po ako nag-safekeep ng fund. Only the processing of the issuance of cash advance and recording of its liquidation.
Alright. Familiar ka po ba, Ma'am Villa del Rey, sa Presidential Decree number 1445 or the Government Auditing Code?
Yes, Your Honor. PD 1445.
Sa mga hindi po familiar dito, we will flash it. Under Section 103, it says general liability for unlawful expenditures. Expenditures of government funds or uses of government property in violation of law or regulations shall be a personal liability of the official or employee found to be directly responsible therefore. In Section 105, it talks about the measure of liability of accountable officers. Binanggit niyo po kanina, kayo po ay isang accountable officer. It states, every officer accountable for government property shall be liable for its money value in case of improper or unauthorized use or misapplication thereof by himself or any person for whose acts he may be responsible. We shall likewise be liable for all losses, damages, or deterioration occasioned by negligence in the keeping or use of the property, whether or not it be at the time in his actual custody. Every officer accountable for government funds shall be liable for all losses resulting from the unlawful deposit, use, or application thereof, and for all losses attributable to negligence in the keeping of the funds. Ibig sabihin ng mga provisions na ito ng PD 1445, personal liability ng accountable officers ang unlawful use or application of government funds or any loss attributable to the accountable officer's negligence in keeping the funds. Sumasang-ayon ka po ba dito, Ma'am Julieta Villa del Rey?
Your Honor, may I reiterate lang po na hindi po ako nag-handle ng cash and my participation in the confidential fund is only in the issuance of it, the processing of the disbursement voucher, checking of all the supporting documents attached to the issuance of cash advance.
Ma'am, if wala po kayong interaction sa SDO, hindi niyo po ba nakikita ang SDO na nagre-receive ng check ng subject of the disbursement voucher?
No, Your Honor.
Sino po ang nagre-release ng check sa SDO?
Cash division, Your Honor.
Cash division. Sino naman po, ang tanong ko po sa inyo, since pinirmahan niyo po lahat po ng liquidation reports na meron po ako dito, sino po ang nag-aabot sa inyo ng liquidation report for your signature?
It was routed po to our office.
It was routed. What is this process?
It
So
was
it's like,
yes, it was routed po from office of the VP.
from office of the VP.
So,
Sino pong nagdadala nun, ma'am? Was it a messenger?
Liaison officer, Your Honor.
Who is this liaison officer?
I don't have idea, Your Honor, since hindi it was only handed to me by my staff in a folder or in an envelope with marked confidential.
It's such a big deal. So, inaabot-abot lang po pala yung ganitong papel. Okay. So, ma'am, kayo po, hindi po kayo sumasang-ayon dun sa provisions ng PD 1445. Kahit na po kanina, binanggit niyo po na you agree that you are the AO or the accountable officer.
Yes, Your Honor, I am accountable officer only in the issuance of cash advance.
Hindi po ba ganun din po yun? Okay. Sa ngayon, ma'am, ako tatanungin ko pa rin po to. Bilang accountable officer po ng mga pinakita ko pong cheque noong 2022 at 2023, would you agree that any unlawful use of these funds would be your personal liability?
Based on the joint circular, Your Honor, but
So yes.
yes, depende po sa participation ko as chief accountant.
Oo, nag-yes ka na. Ma'am, dahil po pinirmahan mo po bilang chief accountant ng OVP ang mga disbursement voucher at liquidation reports, may presumption naman po talaga tayo of regularity and that everything is above board. Di ba po?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Pero bakit kaya, ma'am, base sa mga testimony nung nakaraang hearing, nalaman ng publiko, nalaman din namin dito, na bukod sa unreasonable at hindi makatarungan ang paggastos ng mga funds na ito, ay hindi din properly substantiated or supported ng dokumento, katulad na lamang po ng mga disbursement vouchers na sinertify mo po.
Ang disbursement voucher, Your Honor, na sinertify ko is for the issuance of cash advance. It was all submitted for post-audit to the resident auditor of COA. And as far as I'm concerned, Your Honor, wala pong naging AOM ang issuance ng cash advance.
All right. Mr. Chair, we can confirm, no, bilang yung chief accountant na si Ma'am Julieta Villa del Rey, kahit po she devoids herself of responsibility dun sa cheque, hanggang dun lang siya sa disbursement voucher, nandun talaga siya. We can confirm that she is part of the process ng naging paggastos at liquidation ng confidential funds ng OVP. And as we continue our deliberations, Mr. Chair, on the issue, I hope that Ms. Villa del Rey will continue to be very diligent in cooperating with the committee para po mas mabigyang linaw ang ating mga katanungan. Yun lamang po, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, and I yield to the next interpellator.
Thank you, Congresswoman Zamora. The Chair would like to recognize the Honorable Deputy Speaker, J.J. Suarez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Magandang tanghali po, Ma'am Julieta Villa del Rey.
Gandang tanghali po.
Ma'am, gaano katagal na po kayo naglilingkod sa ating pamahalaan?
I started, Your Honor, 1990, about 34 years already.
34 years. Tama po ba rinig ko? 34 years.
Tama po.
So you've been committed to public service for a great part of your life. And you've been assigned to the Office of the Vice President only, or have you transferred to other offices?
To Accounting Division, Your Honor, of the Office of the Vice President.
Doon lang.
Doon lang po.
So doon kayo nag-umpisa at hanggang ngayon,
Tama po.
nandun pa rin po kayo.
Tama po.
So, ma'am, sa nabanggit nyo, simula nung panahon ni Laurel, nandun na po kayo?
Yes, Your Honor. Last 2 years po ni VP Laurel.
Okay. So, sa maraming vice presidents na pinaglingkuran po ninyo, ngayon lang po nagkaroon ang Office of the Vice President ng malaking halaga para sa confidential funds. Tama po ba ito?
As I recall, Your Honor, tama po.
So, never in the past has a vice president received this large amount of confidential funds.
Not at this amount, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Villa del Rey, kanina nababanggit po yung halagang 125 million na natanggap nung fourth quarter of 2022, first quarter of 2023, second quarter of 2023, third quarter of 2023. Tama. So, kung di po ako nakakamali, that's 4 na cheque.
Tama po.
Yung 4 na cheque pong yun ay aabot ng 500 million pesos. Tama po ba yun?
Tama po.
Okay. Ma'am, matanong ko lang bago ako tumulak sa susunod kong mga tanong. Sa nakalipas na mga hearings namin, kayo po ay pinadadalhan po namin ng imbitasyon.
Tama po.
Bakit kayo lang po kayo nag-desisyon na dumalo?
Sir, as I mentioned po sa aking statement, the first invitation nakasama ako, I was only from September 23 to October 14. And then, for the second invitation po, nakasama rin ako because of the matagal kong absence is marami po akong backlog. So, I have to attend to many tasks, Your Honor.
Kaso lang alam niyo naman po yung kahalagahan ng mga pandinig na ito. Bakit hindi niyo po binigyan ng sapat na importansya para po makadalo sa Committee ng Good Government?
Sir, that is the reason po na nag-attend kami ngayon.
But after receiving a subpoena.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I think, ma'am, sa 34 years niyo na pong paglilingkod, hindi na dapat umaabot sa subpoena, dapat on mere invitation pa lang nakakadalo na po kayo. Dahil sa totoo lang, hindi naman siguro dapat tumagal ng ilang hearing kami dito kung dumadalo po yung mga resource persons namin. Given that career official pa po kayo, 34 years binanggit ninyo. Ngayon, ma'am, patungkol po dun sa confidential funds, before you issue another check, documents have to be submitted to your office with regards to how this was utilized and how it was liquidated, correct?
No, Your Honor. Ang basis lang po ng liquidation sa books of accounts is the received transmittal letter from ICPAO.
Hindi, kunyari, humingi sila ng 120, nag-release kayo ng cheque ng 125, di ba? For 125 ng fourth quarter of 2022. For you to issue another disbursement document, they have to submit the necessary requirements as to how the previous 125 was utilized, correct?
Hindi po. Ang basis po ng liquidation, once receive ang transmittal letter, duly stamp received by ICPAO, yun po yung time na iti-take up ko ang liquidation sa books of accounts. So, liquidated po yung cash advance. Upon request of the next issuance of cash advance, I will issue po certificate of unliquidated cash advance for the SDO.
Okay, kasi tulad po kasi nung nabanggit ni Congresswoman Zamora, nakasulat po kasi dito, supporting documents are complete and proper. At naka-fix po yung signature nyo dito.
Yes, Your Honor. That is pertaining to the supporting documents for the issuance of cash advance.
Yeah. So when it comes to the supporting documents, can you just enlighten me and educate me? What are these supporting documents that need to be complete and proper before you issue another cash advance?
For the issuance of cash advance, Your Honor, the disbursement voucher and the ORS should be supported with special order of the designated SDO, the approved banding from the BTR, the physical and financial plan of the fund, the specimen signature of all the disbursing officers of the ORS and DB, the SBR or the copy of the GAA, and the notice of cash allocation, Your Honor. If it is a succeeding cash advance, it should be supported with certification of no unliquidated cash advance of the SDO.
At lahat po ito natatanggap ninyo?
Yes, Your Honor.
At bago po kayo mag-issue ng disbursement, dapat tinitiyak nyo na kumpleto lahat.
Tama po.
At hinihimay nyo lahat ng mga dokumento, lahat ng mga papeles, lahat ng mga pinadadala sa inyo.
Tama po.
Sino po nagpapadala sa inyo ng mga dokumentong ito?
nanggagaling po ang mga documents routed from Office of the VP.
Saan po galing?
Office of the VP po.
Galing sa Office of the Vice President. Sino po ang nagdadala sa inyo ng mga dokumentong ito?
It was routed po through administrative officer.
And who is this administrative officer?
Hindi ko po kilala since tinatanggap din po siya ng AO ng Accounting Division. And once received in the Accounting Division, ira-route po ito sa table ko.
So, hindi nyo po kilala yung nagpapadala ng mga dokumentong ito sa inyo?
It's only through AO po, administrative officer.
So, who is this administrative officer?
Sir, hindi po ako nakapag-interact sa administrative officer since ang documents is in-hand, pino-forward lang sa akin ng accounting staff mismo.
Hindi, kaso lang considerable yung amount, ma'am eh. Ang laki. At dahil nga nabanggit din na, administratively and for whatever cases that may be filed or be seen na may liability, kasama po kayo sa mga liable. So I would assume that a certain level of consciousness on your part when it comes to the documents being submitted to you will be exercised, especially in the manner of who is submitting to you those documents.
Yes, Your Honor. It was routed through a sealed envelope or in a folder with marked confidential on it.
At sino po
sir.
ang nagpapadala sa inyo nito?
Sa Office of the VP po.
Sino po, would the OIC COS be able to verify who this administrative officer is?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, but I cannot identify the specific administrative officer, as we have several administrative officers.
No,
in
but
the
okay,
office,
so
Your
but you may have several. How many administrative officers do you have? 20? 30?
Honor. I will,
50?
yes, I will check, Your Honor, but
No, I mean, ma'am.
it's more than 10 administrative officers
Okay,
or
so you have
staff
10
in the-
administrative officers. How many administrative officers do you have tasked to handle confidential funds?
I have no personal
But you're
knowledge, Your Honor.
the chief of staff. You should know.
Your Honor, I was only the OIC.
Before
of the Office
acting
of
as
the Chief-
OIC, what was the position that you held in the office of the Vice President?
I am the Director for Administrative and Financial
So
Services.
therefore, as
Office, Your
Director
Honor.
for Administrative and Financial, you would know who the administrative officer is in handling the confidential funds. I mean, it's a big fund. And it's very delicate in its nature that proper care would have to be given to it and attention. So dapat trusted at maasahan ninyo kasi kung magkaroon ng bulilyaso sa pag-handle ng pondong ito, malaking halaga po ang pinag-uusapan natin. You're talking about 125 million pesos per quarter. That's 500 million. So who is the administrative officer that you have tasked from the Office of the Vice President to submit these documents to your chief accountant?
Your Honor, again, I apologize, but I am really not privy to that information, Your Honor.
Will you be kind enough to find out?
I will try, Your Honor. I will check, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. So, Ma'am Julieta Del Rey, matanong ko lang wag naman po sana kayo masasaktan. Kayo ay 34 years na sa Office of the Vice President. Nasusundan niyo po ba yung mga hearings namin dito?
May mga hearings po akong napapanood, Your Honor.
Yeah. Okay. So siguro nakita nyo rin naman yung ilan sa mga red flags at inconsistencies na napansin po ng committee pagdating po sa mga acknowledgement receipts na naisubmit. Hindi po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
At ilan din po sa mga lumitaw na mga issues patungkol po sa confidential funds other than the acknowledgement receipts ay yung mga questionable utilization niya. Hindi po ba?
Tama po.
Aware din po kayo. Ma'am, would you say or to a certain extent be able to determine pagdating po ba sa management ng Office of the Vice President, the same level and style of management was exercised during the time the Vice President was Secretary of Education?
Again, Your Honor.
Yung management style po, yung pagpapatakbo ng opisina, magkaparehas po ba yung estilo ng pagmamanage na ipinakita ni Vice President Sara sa Office of the Vice President at pati po sa bilang Secretary ng Department of Education?
Hindi po ako aware kung paano minamanage ni VP ang DepEd, but I am under the Office of the Director of Admin and Finance,
So hindi kayo masyadong aware. What about you, Attorney Sanchez? Was it the same management style Was she strict? Was she on time? Was she diligent? How would you say? Was it the same?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I cannot compare because I do not have personal knowledge on how she is managing DepEd.
Okay. So thank you very much. Anyway, Mr. Chair, I have no further questions. I just wanted to answer some question. I know, get some answers from from Ma'am Villa Del Rey. Salamat po, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ay, pahabol lang. Sorry, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
please continue.
Ma'am Del Rey, so sinabi nyo kanina na susundan nyo yung mga hearings natin, hindi po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
At career official din po kayo. At nag-oath po kayo kanina. Nangako po kayo na hindi po kayo magsisinungaling. Ma'am, kayo po ba yung nakakatanggap ng mga envelopes
Envelopes po na
na may laman na pera sa loob?
no, Your Honor.
Wala.
No, Your Honor.
Kasi sa DepEd may ganun eh. May parang payola silang ibinibigay sa mga pumipirma ng mga dokumento. Sa inyo po,
Wala po, Your Honor.
wala po kayo natanggap?
Wala po.
Ever since? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next interpellator is Congressman Valeriano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pwede po kay Miss Villa Del Rey ulit. Ma'am, pagod ka na ba, ma'am? Di pa. Kaya pa?
Kaya, sir.
Gutom na po kayo?
Hindi po.
Okay lang. Kanina po, nasabi nyo, matagal na kayo sa OBP. Tama po?
Tama po.
Since 1990.
Tama po.
So halos 3 dekada na po yun, ano?
Tama po.
You were part of the staff of the Vice President Leni Robredo.
Tama
Nung nakaraan. Tama po?
Tama po.
And under VP Robredo, you were, of course, involved in the preparation of the budget of the OBP for the fiscal year 2022. Yan po yung bago mag-eleksyon. Tama po?
Tama po.
As part of the finance accounting, you are aware of the contents of the budget of the OBP. Tama? Tandaan niyo po, including 2022.
Your Honor, the preparation of budget proposal is delegated to our budget officer.
Anyway, ma'am, ganito po. Meron akong slide dito, lang, Comsec, yung budget ng OBP for 2022 and 2023 because I noticed some jumps between them. Ayan po, nakita nyo? We can observe po na may significant jumps from line item appropriation between for the year 2022 saka yung 2023 for the OBP. Of course, yung 2023, prepared na po yan ng present BP natin. As the Chief Accountant, would it be fair to say na nagkamali ang OBP nung panahon ni BP Robredo when it prepared the budget for fiscal year 2022? Kaya mukhang maliit, ma'am, yung budget nila ng 2022? Miss Villa Del Rey? Tingin nyo nagkamali ang Office of the Vice President, si Vice President Leni Robredo noon? 2022 po. Maliit yung nila, yung budget nila noon.
No, Your Honor.
Tama po yun.
Tama po. At it was stated po in the GAA of 2022.
So, could you help us understand why the budget of the EBP for the year 2023 is significantly higher?
Yes po, Your Honor. Malaki po yung difference.
Ma'am, I'm looking at the notes to yung financial statement po for the year December 22 of the OBP. It states here that the supplies and materials, yung nasa una po, supplies and materials expenses amounted to 53,483,463.47 for the year 2022. Habang ayon sa GAA, 2022, 45,821,000 ang budget allocation ng OBP for supplies and maintenance. Clearly, above the budget allocated na po ang OBP for 2022. Tama po? Lumagpas to sa budget allocation?
Tama po, Your Honor. For
Ito, ma'am,
GAA.
yung kalahati na po siya na, no? June 30, July 1.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, for everyone's guidance, under Note 18 of the Notes to Financial Statement, supply and materials expenses consist of office supply expenses, katulad ng mga folder, paper, ball pens, stapler, tama po? Welfare goods expenses, ang kasama dito ay mga ayuda o relief goods katulad ng bigas, delata at tubig. Drugs and medicine expenses, Ito ay ang mga gamot at vitamins na dinistribute sa Bayanihan e-Consulta, pati rin sa Swab Cab and Vaccine Express sa mga taong na-expose sa COVID-19. Medical, dental, and laboratory supply expenses. Ito naman ay ang mga personal protective equipment o PPE na ginamit natin at pinamigay noong COVID-19. Semi-expendable machinery and equipment expenses and other supplies and material expenses. Tayo po ay pumunta sa allocation ng OBP under the General Appropriation Act. Nakalagay sa GAA for 2022 na ang budget na nakalaan for supply and materials expenses for the year 2022 ay nasa halagang 45,821,000. Asan na yung slides? 45,821,000. Tama po? Ma'am?
Wala po yung slides.
Nawala ulit. Yung unang slide. Yan po. Ayan na, ma'am. Yung 45,821,000. Para saan po itong supplies and materials expenses? Saan po ito ginamit o gagamitin?
Your Honor, for supplies and material expenses for 2022,
2022.
yes,
Apo.
partly po, half for BP Lenny and half for BP
Yes,
Sara. Mostly supplies and materials of the office, welfare goods, medicines, fuel.
Yan po yung binanggit ko kanina, in-itemize ko halos.
Yes, Your Honor.
Kapag tinignan mo yung GAA o yung General Appropriation Act for 2023 naman, ma'am, ang nakalaan na budget for supplies and material expenses for the year 2023 ay nasa halagang 272,230,000. Tama po ba yun?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Ibig sabihin, tumaas ng approximately 494%, halos 500% po ang pondo na inallocate para sa naturang supplies and material expenses. Tama po?
Tama po.
Almost 5 times more money was allocated for the same expenses. Bakit tumaas ang halaga ng supplies and materials expenses for the year 2023? Ma'am, can you please give us an explanation to this item?
Sir, can I endorse it to our budget officer for the explanation of the 2023 GAA?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Kelvin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, before I respond to the question, can I just read my opening statement supposedly? Kaso hindi ko na lang po na-submit prior to the hearing today. This is very short lang po.
Did you submit your opening statement?
No, sir. No, Mr.
But under
Chair.
our rules, it's supposed to be we should receive it 48 hours
Okay,
before the...
I will proceed to answering the question.
Yes, please answer na lang po.
Yes, that is correct that the budget of OVP for 2022 under supplies and materials is 45,821,000. And in 2023, it increased to 272,230,000. That is because during the budget legislation period or until such time na magkaroon ng BICAM, nagkaroon po kami ng coordination with, I think with DBM, to request for additional funding since yung 2023 po is the full year service of the new Vice President. So yung breakdown po nung additional po for 2023, which is equivalent to 227.8 million, relates to relief goods amounting to 120 million, school supplies 60 million, reproductive health items 30 million, supplies for the contract of service personnel 12.5 million, fuel, petroleum for the satellite offices 1.8 million. And additional po doon sa aming existing fleet, equivalent to 3.5 million.
So, I mean, noong 2022, 45,821,000 ang supply and materials expenses ng OBP.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ang nagamit is 53,483,463.47.
Based on the COA report, but I have different data po, sir, because I am... Sige, sir.
Anyway, pagdating ng 2023, ang request niya na is 272,230,000. So, hindi naman siguro to pwedeng i-attribute sa inflation, di po ba?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Sige, so kay Ms. Villa del Rey po ulit. May bago bang empleyadong hinilang OBP sa at the time ni pagpasok ni BP Sara? Yung po ba yung dahilan kung bakit tumaas ng almost 500% yung budget? Marami bang bagong employee yung dala-dala? Ano po?
Yes, based on record, sir, may mga additional employees ang Office of the Vice President under BP Sara.
Ma'am, masasabi niyo po ba kung ano ba siya nitong budget na to, yung 494% increase noong 2023?
Your Honor, considering yung mga bagong projects ng Office of considering the new projects to be implemented by BP Sara and the new employees hired under her administration po is
We're talking of supplies and materials expenses po.
yes, Your Honor. There are new projects po under BP Sara na gagamit ng supplies and materials expenses.
So, ang office supplies po ay mga bond paper, paper clip, ball pens, stapler, folder, at iba pa, tama po?
Tama po. Pero dito din po sa line item na supplies
Apo.
and materials na ito, kinukuha yung mga expenses for relief operations, pagbabago.
So, dumami din po yung empleyado ng OBP o kaya yung trabaho ng OBP at the time.
Tama po.
So, sabihin natin na dumami yung mga satellite office po, nagkaroon, nadagdagan.
Tama po. Nadagdagan po.
Pero ma'am, 500% ang increase ha. Wala ba kayong limit sa paggamit po o pag-procure ng mga office supplies o call to ng Vice President?
Based on the PPMP, Your Honor, and the annual procurement plan, together with the work and financial plan prepared by each implementing unit, Your Honor.
Second ma'am, may na-allocate ba na budget para sa welfare goods expenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Magkano po ang na-allocate para dito?
I do not have my records, Your Honor, as of now.
Ang para saan ng welfare good expenses po? Ano yung niya, specific niya?
For relief operation, Your Honor.
So relief. So ang sakop ng welfare goods ay mga ayuda tulad ng bigas, canned goods, damit. Tama po?
Rice and canned goods and
Opo.
other items po, not clothes.
So kapansin-pansin na ayon sa audit report ng COA, noong 2022, ang pinakamalaki na gastusin ng OBP ay nagmula sa welfare goods expenses na nagkakahalaga ng 19,597,581.50. To recall, sa mga panahon na iyon, meron pa po tayong COVID noon sa bansa. Ngunit ngayon, masasabi po ba na lagana pa rin ng COVID-19 na kailangan gumastos ng ganito kalaki? So ano ang basehan ng OBP sa paghingi ng malaking halaga ng welfare goods expenses po? Andyan po, 19,597,581.50. Ma'am.
Your Honor, as far as I can remember, lifted na po ang pandemic.
Wala na po,
that
dineclare
time.
na rin ni President Marcos na lifted na. Sino po ang nag-spearhead ng mga relief operation ninyo kung saan ginastos yung mga nakalista puro sa welfare good expenses? Yan po yung mga ayuda.
Yes, Your Honor, under the Special Projects Division as well as our Disaster Operation Center, Your Honor.
Sa Med Department po talaga.
Yes po.
Si VP Duterte po ba nagde-determine ng final amount ng budget to be requested?
As far as I know, Your Honor.
As far as you know. So, alam po ni VP Duterte yung mga paggagastosan. Tama po?
Tama po.
Nag-allocate din ba ng budget para sa drugs and medicine expenses, ma'am? Magkano yung na-allocate? Ayun po.
May I refer your question to our budget officer, Your Honor, Sir Kelvin?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kelvin,
Budget.
you're recognized. Kelvin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For 2022, under drugs and medicine expenses, based on the submitted financial accountability report, the allocated amount was 1.6 million.
Again, di ba 1.7?
Sir, based on our obligation figures, the amount is 1,601,745 and 25 centavos.
That is for 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And magkano ang na-consume?
That is the actual amount utilized for the fiscal year 2022, Mr. Chair.
Kasama dito yung e-consulta care kits, beneficiaries of the swab cab and vaccine express at iba pa noong COVID-19, tama? 2022.
I cannot recall, Mr. Chair, but kung yung concern po is about sa gamot na binili and then binigay sa beneficiary, dito po siya sa account na ito papasok.
Again, sino po yung nagdidikta pagdating dito, si Vice President, sa budget ng gamot?
In 2022, the bulk of the, out of 1.6, sir, Mr. Chair, 1.57 million was utilized or obligated
From January to June 30, magkano na-utilize doon sa 1 point?
Okay, sir. For first quarter, 1.57 million. For second quarter, 590 pesos.
Magkano ba yung total niya sa 1 year?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Magkano yung total niya for 1 year, 2022?
1,601,745 and 25 centavos.
So yung first 2 quarter, magkano na-consume?
More or less, 1,570,898 and 75 pesos. Tama ba?
So yung 12 million na-consume ng 2 quarter, July to December, tama?
July to December, yung remaining po na 13,874 and 16,981.50 centavos.
Okay. May nakalaan na pondo yung medical, dental, and laboratory supply expenses. Magkano po hiningi ni OBP para dito?
In the year, sir, ang naging allotment available po for medical, dental, and laboratory supplies is equivalent, this is for fiscal year 2022, 11,259,400 pesos and 33 centavos.
Again, 11 million.
11,259,433 centavos.
Ito yung, yung PPE, Personal Protective Equipment, sinuot natin nun sa COVID-19.
Yes, sir.
Tama?
Kasama po iyon.
Sige. Ayon sa notes to financial statement for the year, December 2022, ng OBP, kabilang sa medical, dental, and laboratory supply expenses ang PPE. So, noong 2023, wala ng COVID-19, tama? Sige, sir.
Mr. Chair, noong 2023, wala na po kaming COVID operations within
So,
the OBP.
ano ang basis ng OBP sa paghingi ng ganito kalaki na pera again? Yung 2023 budget nila.
Mr. Chair, for 2023, under medical, dental, and laboratory expenses,
Magkano yung 2023 budget nila dyan?
wala pong naka-allocate but we have actual utilization po of 347,000.
Yes, 300.
47,000.
Yun doon naman tayo sa fuel, oil, and lubricant expenses. Magkano nakalaan na budget dito? Ayon sa note financial statement ng December 2022 ng OBP, ang fuel, oil and lubricant expenses ay tumaas dahil sa pagdami ng motor vehicle sa operation ng OBP. Madam Villa del Rey, tama po?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Alam niyo po kung ilan ang mga motor vehicles ng OBP noong 2022?
I don't have my number, Your Honor, with me today.
Wala. Ito pong 2023, alam niyo po kung ilan?
Same, Your Honor, wala po ako.
The same, wala. So, ano po naging basis ng OBP sa paghingi nila ng budget na to?
Your Honor, in 2023, there are procurements po of transportation equipment.
Again, ma'am?
There are procurement po of transportation equipment, motor vehicles, Your Honor.
Kotse?
I cannot recall, Your Honor, the specifics of the procurement.
Pero 500% halos ma-increase, ha? Meron pa bang ibang items na nakapaloob doon sa supplies and material expenses maliban doon sa na-itemize ko po?
Your Honor, under supplies and material expenses, as mentioned po, office supplies expenses, welfare goods expenses, drugs and medicines expenses, medical, dental, and laboratory supplies expenses, fuel, oil, and lubricants expenses, semi-expendable machinery equipment expenses, and semi-expendable furniture, fixtures, and books expenses, and other supplies and materials expenses, Your Honor.
Then, ma'am, sino po ulit ang nagre-request ng budget sino nag-request ng budget for year 2023? Si BP Duterte po, tama?
Under the administration po of BP Sara.
Sino ang nag-approve ng budget for year 2022? Si BP Duterte ulit, di po ba? Final say.
I cannot recall po who is the signatory of the final proposal.
Pero ma'am, siya ang nag-approve ng budget, so siya rin yun. Clearly, hindi naman po historical data naging basehan ng OBP upang ma-justify yung 272,230,000 or almost 500%. To be exact, ma'am, 494% increase in budget allocation for 2023. Kasi kung historical data ang magiging basehan, sobrang laki ng difference between the amount actually spent by the OBP in supplies and material expenses in 2022 from the amount allocated po ng OBP to the same line item in 2023. Ano kaya yung dahilan, ma'am? Ba't ganun kalaki yung allocation ng 2023? Meron kayong idea?
Your Honor, based on the new projects of the Vice President as well as for the creation of the satellite offices.
Because of the new projects,
New projects to be implemented under the administration of BP Duterte as well as the creation of the 10 satellite offices.
mga satellite offices.
Tama po.
Okay, ma'am, ano pong mga materials o gamit na binili niyo for the year 2023? Under what category niyo binili yun?
Your Honor, under supplies and materials, Your Honor.
Yes. Kasi if you have to compare the expenses ng 2022, yung welfare goods expenses is the highest. Can we say na under this category din po ang majority na mga ginastos nyo ando sa welfare goods expenses? Tama, ma'am?
Again, Your Honor.
Yung halos majority ng ginastos nyo nando sa welfare goods expenses.
Tama po, Your Honor.
Ano naman yung mga materyales o gamit na binili sa dating budget for year 2022 na hindi nagamit hindi na magamit noong 2023? I mean, man, meron bang natira ng 2022?
For the budget, Your Honor,
Yes.
remaining budget of 2022 ay naging continuing appropriation to be added sa 2023 GAA.
I mean, ma'am, wala ba natira yung mga medicine, medical, dental, and laboratory supply expenses 2022 going to 2023? Siguro naman kahit kaunti ma'am, merong mga ginastos na makikarry over from 2022 to 2023. Tama po?
Most of the 2022, Your Honor, medical, dental, and laboratory supplies are utilized for COVID operation under BP. And
So walang again ulit ma'am?
most of the medical, dental, and laboratory supplies expenses disbursed in 2022 are utilized for COVID operation, Your Honor.
So walang carry over, wala pong napunta ng 2023. Ubos.
Hindi po ako sure, Your Honor, pero wala na rin po kaming, nag-stop na rin ang COVID operation at the time of the new administration, Your Honor.
Sige po. Nasabi nyo kanina ma'am, kaya 494% yung increase kasi sa project na bago. So substantially different ba yung mga initiative and programa ninyo sa OBP noong 2023 kesa sa 2022 na kailangan yung bumili ng bagong materyales? Kasi bigla po nag-jump ng 494% yung budget eh. Gaano ba kaganda yung programa na yan, ma'am?
Sir, since 2022 po is pandemic pa, so wala pang movement, wala pang masyadong mga projects na pwedeng i-implement. That is why po, nung pumasok ang new administration, nag-end na ng pandemic, there are new projects na pinopose under the new administration.
Ma'am, noong 2020 ang pandemic po hanggang 2022, tama?
Yes, Your Honor.
Noong 2019 po ba, wala pang pandemic? Malaki rin ang budget ng OBP noon?
Wala pa po. Wala po akong comparison ng 2019. Your
Pero
Honor.
sa experience niyo po, ma'am, ito bang 2023 is the highest budget compared to the previous annual budget?
Based on record, sir, yes po.
Yes. So in 2019, walang pandemic. 2020, may pandemic. So ang common denominator of these expenses is their attribution to the COVID-19 pandemic, which, as we know by now, has already been largely kept at bay. Practically, wala na pong COVID-19 pandemic ngayon, di po ba? Wala na.
Tama po.
Required pa ba tayo mag-mask strictly, social distancing, in person naman? Wala na po, ano?
Voluntary, Your Honor.
Yes, yun yung sinasabi kanina. Through Proclamation 297 issued last June 21, the President has lifted the state of public health emergency due to COVID-19. Tama po, ano?
Tama po, Your Honor.
So, kasi po, nagugulat lang kami sa 494 increase sa budget eh. Almost 5 times more the allocation for this line item. When in the first place, the actual expenditure of the OBP for the supplies and materials expenses in 2022 was actually very low in comparison. May naisip ka ba, ma'am, na dahilan kung bakit may malaking pagkakaiba sa expenditure ng 2022 to 2023? Because of the project again?
Yes, Your Honor, and the 10 satellite offices.
And the satellite offices. So from 53 million to 272 million times 5. Ma'am, what are the different materials that year 2023 needed to procure from the materials procured from by the year 2022 budget? Was there a significant price difference between then and now?
Sir, Your Honor, may I refer your questions to our Director for Admin and Finance?
Mr. Chair.
Attorney Sanchez,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Honor, as mentioned by our Chief Accountant, there were new projects of the OVP in 2023, namely the Pagbabago Campaign, A Million Learners and Trees Program. For the Pagbabago Campaign, Your Honor,
Slowly, ma'am. Ano yung bagong project po?
Pagbabago Campaign, Your Honor.
Pagbabago,
Campaign, A Million Learners and Trees Program, Your Honor.
a million,
Learners and Trees.
and it costs 150 million?
For the Pagbabago Campaign, Your Honor, around 90 million. I'll just confirm, Your Honor, from the
Ma'am, ano
exact
tong
amount.
pagbabago campaign? Ano po ito?
Sir, for the Pagbabago Campaign, the OVP has a target of giving school bags with school supplies and dental kits to school children for at least, the target is 1 million school children for the entire term of the Vice President, Sara Duterte, Your Honor. So
Ma'am,
for-
we are talking of 2023 budget
yes.
lang.
So for 2023, Your Honor, the target was set at 200,000, Your Honor. 200,000 beneficiaries, Your Honor.
200,000 bags in short.
Yes, Your Honor.
And yung million, ano yung million learner?
Yun po yung component nung program, a Million Learners program po yung target. And then may counterpart po siya, that is the A Million Trees campaign. But for the A Million Trees campaign, very minimal expenses lang because it only entails tree planting po. And the target is a million trees as well. So 200,000.
So yung dalawang project po yun, tama
Yes.
bang parang it worth 220 million per year?
Your Honor, for
Almost.
it's just one of the new programs of the OBP.
So marami pang project.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, this increase in supplies and materials expenses is extremely alarming. An increase of almost 494% or a budget of 45,821,000 in 2022 to 272,230 million in 2023 nang ipinakita ang breakdown ng 272,230 para lamang sa supply and materials. Kaya naman, Mr. Chair, I move that the COA furnish us a copy of the said audited financial statement of 2023 relating to the OBP. So I move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any second to the motion? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Kay Ms. Villa Del Rey po ulit. Tayo po naman ay pumunta sa budget na nakalaan for professional services. Ayon sa GAA for 2022, ang budget na nakalaan po for professional services ay nasa halagang 41,777,000 for the year 2022. Ma'am, para saan po itong professional services na to?
Your Honor, professional services comprised of auditing services, consultancy services, and other professional services, Your Honor.
Okay. So, sino-sino ma'am yung mga auditor nyo? Di po ba meron ng COA ang auditor ng... Di ba COA ang auditor ng OBP? Meron pa po bang internal?
Yes, Your Honor, COA resident auditor.
Regarding ma'am sa consultant, sino-sino naman po yun? Meron kayong ano? Mga consultants din?
Yes, Your Honor, they are the consultants under the new administration, Your Honor.
So, yun po yung sa 41 million. Ma'am, sino-sino yung mga dating auditor at consultant ng year 2022? Meron po kayong listahan pa dyan?
For the resident auditor, Your Honor, as detailed by COA is Sir Joshua Palitic, and I think ATL po is Joshua Palitic for 2022.
Okay, so gaano kadalas nag-audit at nag-hire ng consultant ang OBP, ma'am? Ilang beses? Same number of time ba sa, as of year 2022? Tsaka 20, gaano kadalas po sila pumupunta ron?
For auditing services, sir, they are resident in the OBP. They have office in the OBP. So for the auditing services, these are the expenses incurred by the auditing services like communication, fuel. Nakalam po ito under one account, auditing services.
Comsec, meron pang slide dyan regarding professional services. Pakita lang po sa monitor. Ayan po. For the benefit of this committee, ma'am, would you kindly enlighten us to what these expenses were for? We would like to know po ano itong other professional services. Madam Villa Del Rey.
Yes. Your Honor, for a total of 56,140,892.26, this is pertaining to 2022 expenses of the Office of the Vice President for professional services. For the 74,990,000, Your Honor, it is not the amount indicated in our audit report.
Magkano po yung sa audit report niyo?
For 2023, Your Honor, the total professional services, 62,698,445.
600.
62,698,445.41.
Sige, ma'am. Ano po yung ibig sabihin ng other professional services? Ano po yung other professional services? Meron na kayo auditing services, consultancy services. Ano yung other professional services?
Other professional services, Your Honor, includes the payment of service fees, premium and gratuity pay to contract of service personnel. It also includes the payment of the service personnel of the libreng sakay buses.
Personnel of the libreng sakay buses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ano po to? Driver ng bus?
Driver and conductor, Your Honor.
So, 44,689,743,743.30 for 2022?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you agree with me, ma'am, that the term other professional expenses is necessarily vague? Kasi, tinanong ko pa nga eh. Professional expenses, ma'am. Other professional services. Ma'am, ano pagkakaiba ng auditing services and consultancy services?
Auditing services, sir, pertaining to our resident auditor from COA. And consultancy services are the consultants under the Office of the Vice President. Technical consultants, sir.
Again, auditing services pertaining to
Pertaining to COA resident auditor detailed in the Office of the Vice President. And consultancy services pertaining to technical consultants hired in the Office of the Vice President.
So yun po yung consultancy services hired by the Vice President. 11,312,866.89. Tama po?
Tama po, for 2022, Your Honor.
For 2023, tama po ni amount na yun, 23 million plus.
For 2023, Your Honor, auditing services, 216,368,000. 216,368, and for consultancy services, a total of 3,447,502 pesos and 19 centavos, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, I would like to manifest that it appears here that the OBP engaged other professional services, which contains the biggest expenditure out of the line item under professional services for 2022, amounting to 44,689,743.30. Nakakapagtaka, Mr. Chair, kung saan pinaggastosan ang professional services maliban sa auditing services and consultancy services. Ayon din po sa notes to financial statement, the total expenditure for professional services for the year 2022 was in the amount of 56,140,892 pesos and 96 centavos, which is higher than the allotted budget for the same year. Ibig sabihin, lagpas ang OBP sa budget. Tama po, Ms. Villa Del Rey?
Your Honor, hindi ko po siya ma-compare since wala ako ng ibang figures.
Paano nyo pala hinahanda po itong budget? Base ba sa historical data to?
May I refer your question, sir, to our budget officer?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Kelvin, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, with regard to the preparation of budget, one of the consideration is the historical cost
Historical
of the OBP.
data.
And then second is if we have required additional COSPs or to expand yung manpower pool
Sige po.
ng OVP.
Yun lang muna. Ano ibig sabihin ng historical data? So, bali yan yung para sa year 2022.
For year 2022, sir, we usually refer back to the previous year. But in this case, nagkakaroon po kami ng additional consideration since new administration po yung gagalaw for 2023 compare doon sa actual nung 2021.
Since bago yung administration, may bagong consideration?
Bagong consideration, depende po sa requirement na manpower ng mga satellite offices and the central office.
Sige po. Ayon sa GAA for 2023, ang budget na nakalaan sa professional services ay nasa halaga ng 193,950,000 which is a 365% increase from the budget allocated to professional services in 2022. Halos 4 times na increase po ito. Bakit po tumaas ng sobra ang budget for professional services in 2023? Ms. Villa del Rey, please give us an explanation po dito. 365% ang tinaas.
Your Honor, our budget for 2023 is based on, as mentioned by Sir Kelvin Tenido, is based on the requirements
Of the Vice President.
of the Vice President with the implementation of new projects and creation of 10 satellite offices.
Ma'am, what is the difference between year 2022 and year 2023 with respect to the need for professional services? Ba't kinakailangan pong 365% yung increase ng budget? Malaki ba yung pangangailangan ng 2023?
Yes, Your Honor, with the creation of 10 satellite offices and the limited plantilla positions available in the Office of the Vice President, we have to hire personnel under contract of service.
So does it mean, ma'am, ng July 1, 2022 to December 2022, hindi nakapag-function ng maayos ang Vice President? Kasi maliit lang po nun yung professional services.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, hindi ko po kayang sagutin. Wala akong mga available figures for comparison, Your Honor.
56,140,892.96 po ang COA report ng 2022, while in GAA 2023, 193,950,000, which is 364%. So I mean, nung July 1 po 2022, bagong administration na yon. Anyway, ma'am, what projects did the OBP have that are supposedly different from what the previous OBP had?
Almost all of the projects of the under the new administration is new, Your Honor, because under previous administration, the focus of projects is COVID operations.
Nung 2022 COVID operation.
Yes, Your Honor.
So noong 2023, maraming project, kaya 365% increase in professional services or will cost around 3 times more than what was actually spent in 2022. Tama ba, ma'am?
Tama po.
Bakit marami po kayong na-hire na consultants noon 2023?
2023, sir, is few consultants only, more on contract of service personnel, Your Honor.
Again?
For consultancy, Your Honor, only few consultants were hired. Most charges under the professional services are from personnel under contract of service.
Contract of service. Tapos, bakit po kayo nag-hire ng auditor kung mayroon namang COA? Ano pang ina-audit po ron?
No, sir, hindi po kami nag-hire ng auditor. Ang auditing services po na nandito is for the expenses incurred ng COA resident auditor sa OBP.
Okay. Mr. Chair, habang umuusad ang ating discussion tungkol sa pagwaldas ng OBP ng pera ng taong bayan, dumarami ang mga katanungan at ni isang sagot o paliwanag ang hindi natin nakukuha. Kagaya nito, gumastos ng mahigit 44 million ng OBP sa other professional services na hindi man lang pinangalanan ng OBP. As far as I am concerned, and I believe the Filipino people agree, is that aside from auditing and consultancy services, there is no other professional services needed by the OBP. If indeed such professional services were not tainted with fraud or malice, then the OBP should have at least provided an item describing such. Mr. Chair, nakakaduda ito. Hindi lamang barya yung 44 million na pinagpagura ng taong bayan para lang gastahin ng basta-basta ng OBP. Ma'am, dito naman po tayo sa susunod na line item, financial assistance. Sa 2022 GA, ang nakalaan na budget para dito ay halagang 357,600,000. Tama po?
Your Honor, under the assistance subsidy
20
account,
Financial Assistance Subsidy. Apo. GAA 2022.
there's
357,600,000.
for 2022, Your Honor, our records is 378,820,757 pesos and 65 centavos, Your Honor.
Yan po yung na-consume.
Yes po, Your Honor.
Pero yung nasa GAA 2022, 357,600,000.
Tama po, Your Honor.
So, Comsec, ano yung slide? Para makita rin po ni Ms. Villa Del Rey. Ayon sa note to financial statement for 2022, yung assistance subsidy amounted to 378,820.6 for the year 2022. The assistance subsidy was broken down as follows. Ayan, ma'am. On the other hand, under Note 18.18 of the Notes to Financial Statement, subsidies other consisted of the following. Comsec, merong, ayan.
2021.
Medical, burial assistance, ayan ma'am, tuloy-tuloy na yan. Mr. Chair, once again, an examination of the figures clearly indicates that the OBP exceeded its budget allocation for 2022 on the item of assistance subsidy. While OBP extended assistance and provided subsidies in the form of financial, medical, burial, educational, and livelihood assistance, it cannot go unnoticed that the OBP must be limited to the budget allocated for this specific purpose. The sole discretion on the part of the OBP cannot be misconstrued to be an act of liberality or generosity, as it cannot decide whimsically on how to spend the people's money, especially considering that it is beyond what is allocated. Again, it appears that the OBP exceeded its budget allocation for year 2022. Tama po ba, ma'am?
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
357,600,000 yung nasa GAA, ang nagamit 378,820,757.
What is the pleasure of Attorney Sanchez?
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized to respond to the question, Your
Sige
Honor?
po.
Oh, sige, you are recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, for 2022, we received a supplemental budget from the DBM covering financial assistance and subsidy, Your Honor. In addition, Mr. Chair, under the GAA, the government agency has the authority to modify a certain amount of up to a certain extent its budget, provided that we stay within the PAP of the account, Your Honor.
Hindi, ma'am, wala naman pong problem doon. Sinasabi ko lang po, nung GAA 2022, ang original budget is 357,600,000. Ang na-consume is 378. May supplemental, pero kinulang talaga yung 357. Tama po?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ano ulit yung proseso sa paghahanda ng budget allocations? Ma'am, si Ms. Villa Del Rey ulit. Ma'am, ano ang proseso sa paghahanda ng budget allocation?
Ms. Villa Del Rey.
Your Honor, based on historical data,
Based on historical data. Sino-sino yung mga taong involved sa decision making o sa approval? CBP.
Your Honor?
Sino-sino po yung mga taong involved sa decision making o sa pag-approve ng budget?
for the project proposal, Your Honor,
It's the
it
Vice
is
President.
not only the Vice President, we have the budget officer, we have the planning officer, and with the director for APSO, and also the top management, Your Honor.
For the year 2023, the budget allocated to financial assistance subsidy ay tumaas sa halagang 920,800,000. This is almost 157% increase o halos 2 times na increase po ito. Tama, ma'am? Tama po.
More or less, Your Honor.
Again, ma'am, kindly give us an explanation as to why the amount allocated for this line item in 2023 differ substantially from the amount allocated to and actually spent by the OBP in 2022. Masyadong malaki.
Yes, Your Honor, because of the creation of the new satellite offices, yes, sir, and the implementation
Of your
of medical
project.
and burial assistance also to be implemented in satellite offices, not only in central office, and also other projects under the subsidy account, Your Honor.
So that is the reason kung bakit substantial increase yung budget from 2022 to 2023. Tama po?
Yes, Your Honor.
Dito naman tayo sa representation expenses, ma'am. Under the GAA 2022, the OBP was allocated an amount of 29,752,000 in representation expenses. Ayon sa Note 18.19 of the Notes to its financial statement, these representation expenses refer to expenditures for the representation expenses of the Vice President, including regular and special meetings, including local security augmentation during travel of the Vice President in the provinces. Tama? Tama, ma'am?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, I understand that the representation expenses are incurred when the Vice President attends regular and special meetings, including the security details she needs while she travels. It seems as if the OBP, through the item of representation expense, is charging a talent fee in every meeting she attends. This is akin to a talent fee paid to a celebrity for every public appearance or guesting in TV show. This absurd, Mr. Chair, again, public office is public trust. Holding a seat in government, the second most powerful in the country to be exact, is not a golden ticket to spend mindlessly. For 2022, ayon ulit sa note to financial statements, it appears that representation expenses of the OBP amounted to 16,757,436,000.88, noticeably below the budget allocated for this item for 2022. Tama, ma'am? Ibig po ba sabihin, hindi nagastos lahat ng budget allocated for representation expenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
16. Meron pong 12,994,563.12 na hindi ginastos ng OBP for representation expenses noong 2022. Tama, ma'am? 12,994,563.12.
Tama po, Your Honor.
Nevertheless, despite the fact that OBP did not spend what it anticipated to spend in 2022, sa GAA 2023, ang nakalaan na budget for representation expenses became 79,310,000, or an increase of approximately 168% from last year's budget. Ano po yung basihan nyo rito? May natirang ang representation expenses ng 2022, and yet sa 2023 mas malaki yung request nyo, 168% compared to 2022. Sige, tapos.
Yes, Your Honor. The significant increase is based on the expansion of the office with the 10 satellite offices and 2 extension offices in addition to the central office, Your Honor, for the representation expenses of the Vice President.
Pero ma'am, 2022, natirang kayo ng budget sa representation expenses. Siya na rin po ang Vice President nung kalahating taon.
Yes, Your Honor. It was added to the 2023 GAA as continuing appropriation.
Sige, siguro Mr. Chair, tuloy ko na lang para second round. Medyo mahaba na yung tanong ko. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Congressman Valeriano. The next interpellator is Congresswoman Jinky Luistro. Ma'am, but before I recognize you, ma'am, may tatanong lang ako, few lang. Ma'am Juliet, I do not know if my question should be answered by Ms. Julieta or Attorney Sanchez. Ma'am, ilan po ba yung satellite office nyo? Would you know?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we have 10 satellite offices and
10
1 extension office as of today, Your Honor.
10 satellite
Yes, Mr.
offices?
Chair.
Okay. So would you know kung saan po yung mga satellite offices nyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair. For Luzon, we have 1 in Isabela, that's our Cagayan Valley Satellite Office.
Isabela,
Yes.
and then
We also have in Pangasinan, in
Pangasinan.
Dagupan, Your Honor. We also have in Region 5 in Bicol, Your Honor, in Legazpi
ano pa?
City.
Bicol.
Bicol, Your Honor, in Legazpi City.
So
Your
tatlo po sa Luzon.
Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
And then
for Visayas, we have one in Cebu City in Cebu, and that covers Cebu, Bohol, and Siquijor area.
Cebu,
Cebu, Bohol, and Siquijor, but the office is located in Cebu City.
Cebu. Okay.
Yes, and we also have one for Panay and Negros Islands, and that is located in Bacolod City.
Panay Negros, and then
Located in Bacolod City.
Bacolod.
Yes. And we also have for Eastern Visayas located in Tacloban City, Your
In
Honor. Tacloban.
Tacloban. And then in Mindanao,
In Mindanao, Your Honor, we have 4 satellite offices. For Southern Mindanao Satellite Office, it's located in Davao City.
Davao,
For Caraga, it's located in Butuan.
Butuan,
And for Western Mindanao Satellite Office, it's located in Zamboanga City.
Zamboanga,
And the last one is for BARM. It's located in Cotabato City.
Cotabato.
And
Okay.
in addition, Your Honor, we have an extension office in Tondo, Manila.
Tondo.
Yes,
Manila.
Your Honor.
So all in all, 11.
10 satellite offices and 1 extension office. Your Honor, there was also a period of time wherein we operated an extension office in Lipa, Batangas.
Lipa, Batangas.
Yes.
Okay. So never na nangyari po na ang inyong satellite office ay naging 34?
No,
Wala
Your
po.
Honor.
Okay, sige. Thank you po.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ah,
Mr. Chair?
Can I just interject?
Please. The COMSEC would like to recognize.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Welcome to the hearing, Vice Chairperson Honorable Crispin Diago Pingiremulla from the 7th District of Cavite and Honorable Micaela Angela B. Swansing from the 1st District of Nueva Ecija. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. With the indulgence of Congresswoman Luistro, the Chair would like to recognize Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez.
Yeah, Attorney Sanchez, good afternoon. Attorney Sanchez, earlier you were enumerating your satellite offices and special satellite office. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair,
extension
it's
office.
extension office, Your Honor.
So anong pinakaiba nung special? Is that the
Extension office, Your
Yeah.
Honor. The satellite offices, Your Honors, Mr. Chair, perform or rolls out all the projects of the central office, Your Honor. So all the projects that includes the Medical and Burial Assistance Program, the Pagbabago a Million Learners and Trees campaign, the Pansarap, Your Honor, Libreng Sakay for the 3 satellite offices, Your Honor, because we
Yeah.
only have a limited buses.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I just wanted to get an idea. And then you mentioned you have one in Tondo. What is that?
Yes, that's an extension office, Your Honor. The function is limited to receiving applications for medical and burial assistance, Your Honor.
And I'm sure that all these satellite offices, given the funds that have been allocated to the Office of the Vice President, are properly manned, operated, maintained,
Yes, Your Honor.
complete with staff and security guards.
Your Honor, the security guards, we just started in 2023, Your Honor. But we only started assigning security guards in 2023, Your Honor. But yes, Your Honor, you are correct.
So up to present, nandun pa yon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Pati yung mga satellite offices nyo sa Tondo, ganun.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you aware of an incident that happened in August 8, 2024?
Your Honor, are you referring to the incident in Tondo, Manila, Your Honor? Where?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Can you enlighten the committee as to the incident that happened in August 8, 2024?
Your Honor, based on my knowledge, there was a looting incident in Tondo, Manila, Your Honor.
There was a
Looting incident.
Incident
A robbery incident, Your Honor.
nanilooban yung office ninyo, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Na kanina sinabi mo lang sa akin, properly manned, properly maintained, properly operated, and since 2023, may security guard. Tama?
Your Honor, I stand corrected, Your Honor. For the Tondo Satellite Office, initially we did not assign a security guard because, as I mentioned, the
No, but
operations
wait,
of the satellite
Earlier I asked you, and you confirmed. Now, when I asked you about this incident in Tondo, you cannot be adjusting your answers and you know.
I apologize, Your Honor.
But in any case, so about this looting incident, what was lost in that incident of burglary in Tondo?
From my knowledge, Your Honor, the report that I received is that there were just food items which were lost. Initially, the CCTV was stolen, but as far as I know, Your Honor, it was already recovered.
So yun yung isang pinagtataka ko, Mr. Chair, kasi nabanggit po ni Attorney Sanchez, no, na maintained, operated, well-funded yung kanilang mga opisina, extension offices. In fact, one time, the issue of security personnel deployed to the office of the Vice President was an issue, and then you also mentioned that security guards were also deployed in your offices. And yet, we have incidents of this na isang alam na tanggapan ng pangalawang pinakamataas na opisyal sa ating bansa ay nalooban at napagnakawan pa. So I just wanted to stress that point, Mr. Chair, so that we can take due notice of that incident. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez. The chair would like to recognize Congresswoman Luistro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I wish to raise my questions to Ms. Villa del Rey. Ma'am, you confirm that you are the Chief Accountant of OVP.
Yes, Your Honor.
May we know how long have you been working at the Office of the Vice President?
I was started in the OBP since 1990, Your Honor. I'm already in my 34th year.
1990.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you please share with us who was the Vice President then?
It was still Vice President Doy Laurel, Your Honor.
Doy Laurel.
Salvador Laurel.
My question for you, Ms. Villa del Rey, would it be correct to say that during the time of Vice President Duterte, there are two kinds of key officials? One are those who have been with the OVP for so long a time, like you, and the other kind are those who came along with the Vice President, either from Davao City LGU or from her electoral campaign. Would that be correct?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Kapag sinabi po ba natin na key officials who have been with the OBP for so long a time, tama po bang tawagin to na career officials?
Tama po, Your Honor.
And with respect to those who came along with the Vice President, either from the Davao City LGU or from her electoral campaign, are these what we call the coterminous or confidential officials?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Just for the enlightenment of the committee, Ms. Villa del Rey, can you please cite at least some names of the key officials of OVP who are career officials?
From SG24 Division Head, Your Honor, down to rank and file, Your Honor, all other officials are coterminous or appointed officials.
You said SG24 down to rank and file are career officials.
Tama po, Your
So
Honor.
would it be correct to say that if the officials are higher than SG24, these are the confidential officials?
Coterminous and confidential officials, Your Honor.
What is the difference, if there is any, between coterminous and confidential officials?
For coterminous employees, officials, Your Honor, they are, as I understand din po ito, is within the term po of the current administration or the current Vice President.
And how about confidential officials, if there's any difference?
Same coterminous, Your Honor.
So there is no difference at all between coterminous and confidential officials. As a matter of fact, I have observed that these two terminologies are being used interchangeably. Do you confirm that, Ms. Villa del Rey?
For me, Your Honor, yes po.
Okay. With respect to the confidential officials or coterminous officials, can you please name some or few officials who were brought in to the OVP by Vice President Duterte?
Based on the positions, Your Honor, we have the Chief of Staff, the Assistant Chief of Staff, the Director for Operations, the Director for SMO, Director for Admin and Finance, and all other coterminous employees under the said officials.
Does that include the Special Disbursing Officer?
Yes, Your Honor.
What salary grade is SDO?
For our SDO, for confidential is, if tama po yung pagkakatanda ko, is SG24.
SG24, but earlier you said if it is SG24 down to rank and file, that is career officials. And if that is higher than SG24, then that will be confidential officials. Can you please enlighten us on this?
There are positions po na SG24, but they are not division heads under career or under permanent plantilla positions, Your Honor. SG24 under coterminus.
How many SDO do you have?
I cannot recall, Your Honor, but we have SDO for various activities. We have SDO for confidential fund.
And you confirm that the SDO for confidential fund is Gina Acosta.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what salary grade is that?
SG24, Your Honor.
SG24 career official,
Non-career po.
non-career official. Ms. Villa del Rey, I understand that in August 2022, the Office of the Vice President requested for augmentation fund, which includes confidential fund. Do you confirm this?
Your Honor, may I refer your question to our budget officer?
Yes, please.
Mr. Kelvin, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I confirm that there was a request to DBM for the augmentation of fund of OVP in August FY 2022.
May we know, sir, how long have you been connected to the OVP?
I have been with OVP since 2014, since former Vice President Binay, ma'am. Mr.
Vice
Chair.
President Binay. So I believe that you are in the best position to answer whether during the time of Vice President Leni Robredo, mayroon din po bang confidential fund nung time ni Vice President Leni Robredo?
There was no confidential fund during the term of Vice President Leni Robredo.
There was no confidential fund during the time of Vice President Leni Robredo. How about during the time of Vice President Jejomar Binay?
I am not a budget officer during that time, ma'am, so I have no knowledge. But per records, I think earlier years of his term, meron pong confidential fund.
Would you be able to enlighten us how many times did Vice President Binay requested for confidential funds during his term?
I cannot give definite answer, ma'am, but upon checking the documents available in the office, there was a series of correspondences regarding confidential fund. However, there is also correspondences reflecting to return or to revert back the release of confidential fund.
There are sources which say that Vice President Jejomar Binay had confidential fund only once. But of course, this is subject to your verification.
I will check, Madam Mr. Chair.
I wish to go back to Ms. Villa del Rey, but I would not mind, Kevin, if you will continue answering my questions. She's temporarily out. Would it be correct to say, sir, since there are no confidential funds during the time of Vice President Robredo, and Vice President Jejomar Binay only had once, would it be correct to say that the career officials of Vice President of the Office of the OVP during the time of Vice President Sara are not used or inexperienced with respect to confidential fund?
I would agree, Mr. Chair. However, we are always guided by certain circulars or guidelines.
And if you agree that the career officials are inexperienced with respect to confidential fund, there being no confidential fund during the time of the former vice presidents, to be particular, Robredo and Binay, would it be correct to say that it is the confidential officials of Vice President Duterte who are experienced with respect to confidential funds?
I have no information, Mr. Chair, with regard to the experience of the coterminous or confidential employees of this administration.
Do you know Yusek Sulaika Lopez?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Would you know where she came from before she assumed her position at the OVP?
During that time, I think she was, previously, she was the city administrator of...
And would you know how long she was employed as city administrator in Davao?
No, Mr. Chair, I have no information.
But at least would you know how long was she connected with Davao City LGU prior to OVP stint?
I cannot remember, but during the first, I think, payroll, of course, attachment of those documents are the service records, but I have no exact or number of years to tell the committee of Attorney Zuleika Lopez as employee of the Davao LGU.
How about Miss Gina Acosta? Do you know her?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Would you know where she came from?
Same from Davao LGU.
And would you know how long she was connected to Davao City LGU prior to her assumption of office at the OVP?
No, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I just want to manifest that during the previous hearings, we were able to present already before the committee the confidential funds of the City of Davao since 1988. And if my memory serves me right, during the time of then Mayor Sara Duterte, the confidential fund was 420 million, and then it was raised to 460 million until she finished her term as mayor of Davao City. Having this in mind, sir,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
would you agree with me if I would say that Yusek Zuleika Lopez and SDO Gina Acosta are well experienced with regards to confidential fund?
I cannot surmise, Mr. Chair, because I have no knowledge of their position or participation in the Davao LGU.
Let us proceed to the fiscal and financial plan. I hope you are in the position to answer this. May we request the Secretary to please flash the fiscal and financial plan. Based on this document, sir, the OVP requested for 250 million confidential funds. This is for the fourth quarter of 2022. Kaka-assume lang po ng opisina ng ating Vice Presidente. And this is for the implementation of the Good Governance Program. Do you confirm this?
I confirm the document, Mr. Chair.
And according to this document, the amount of 250 million confidential funds is supposed to be spent for a period of 3 months, equivalent to 90 days, representing the fourth quarter of 2022. Tama po ba?
I confirm, Mr. Chair.
And to be specific, that would mean October, November, and December of 2022.
I agree,
You
Mr.
confirm?
Chair.
And of course, you are aware also that the entire amount of 250 million was not approved. Am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And what was approved by the DBM only was 125 million. Tama po?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Considering that the program that was presented to the DBM for that 250 million is 3 months, equivalent to 90 days, representing the last 3 months of the year 2022. Tama po bang sabihin that with regards to the approved 125 million confidential fund, this is supposed to be spent for a period of 1.5 months, equivalent to 45 days, part of the last quarter of 2022?
I cannot tell that the amount of 125 million must be spent for 1.5 months, ma'am.
But at least, sir, if we will be basing it on the fiscal and financial plan, which presented the 250 million as expenses to be incurred for the last quarter of 2022, which is equivalent to 3 months or 90 days, if the DBM approved only 1/2, then it is reasonable to assume that 125 million representing 1/2 is supposed to be spent in 1/2 number of days of the supposed 90 days. And that is 45 days. Is that a reasonable interpretation?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think
It is a reasonable interpretation. Of course, we wish to manifest to the committee 250 million po ang request na confidential fund under the Good Governance Program. This is supposed to be spent during the last quarter of 2022. That is 3 months, equivalent to 90 days, and to be specific, the month of October, November, and December of the year 2022. Considering, Mr. Chair, that what was approved was only 1/2 of the requested amount, that is 125 million, I wish to believe that this is supposed to be spent in 1/2 of the presented period, that is 45 days or 1.5 months of the last quarter of 2022. Nonetheless, Mr. Chair, during our previous hearings, it was established already, and I wish to confirm this from our resource speaker, that that 125 million confidential fund of the OVP was spent only within the period of 11 days.
If we will base it on the date of check, I think it is equivalent to 11 days, ma'am, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and can we please flash the next slide? There. The utilization of confidential fund, 125 million, December 21 to December 31, 2022, and that is equivalent to 11 days. Do you confirm this, sir?
I confirm, Mr. Chair.
Now, let us look back to the 16 million portion of the 125 million confidential fund, which was used in the maintenance or rental of safe houses. This was liquidated by the use of 34 acknowledgement receipts. Do you confirm this?
I cannot confirm, Mr. Chair, because I have no participation or knowledge with regard to the disbursement or the liquidation of the.
I understand. Can we go back to Ms. Villa del Rey? Ma'am, can we confirm that the 16 million portion of the 125 million confidential funds was liquidated by way of acknowledgement receipts, 34 acknowledgement receipts representing rental of safe houses?
I cannot confirm, Your Honor, since I have no personal knowledge on the disbursement and utilization of confidential fund.
Do we have a resource speaker who have knowledge about this acknowledgement receipt? There is none. Nevertheless, Mr. Chair, let this representation manifest that the records show that the 125 million confidential fund was approved for the last quarter of 2022, and 16 million out of the same amount was liquidated by way of 34 acknowledgement receipts representing rental of safe houses. And I wish to further manifest, Mr. Chair, that the lowest amount among the 34 acknowledgement receipt is 250,000, which was spent for 11 days, representing the rental of 22,000 per day for the said safe house. The highest amount of acknowledgement receipt, Mr. Chair, is 1 million. And if we divide this into 11 days, that would mean that the rental per day for the safe house is 90,000, way higher than the luxury hotels as previously presented and established in our hearings, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I wish to go back to Ms. Villa del Rey. Ma'am, doon po sa letter to the DVM for the request for augmentation fund, the purpose that was cited, safe implementation of various projects and activities under the Good Governance Program. Do you confirm this?
I don't have knowledge of the request, Your Honor. I only have copy of the letter.
Can we please flash again the physical and financial plan? At least, Ms. Villa del Rey, please confirm it from the document from the office of the OVP. It says, safe implementation of OVP. I cannot read anymore. Would you know, Ms. Villa del Rey, if during the time of Vice President Robredo, there is good governance program also?
Yes, Your Honor.
And under Vice President Robredo's good governance program, may kasama po ba doon na maintenance of safe houses?
Wala po, Your Honor.
Then can you please enlighten us? Bakit po dito sa good governance program ni Vice President Duterte, may nasamang maintenance of safe houses under confidential fund?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Wala po akong knowledge doon sa disbursement and utilization ng confidential funds.
Nonetheless, Mr. Chair, I wish to manifest that although both Vice President Robredo and Vice President Duterte,
Congresswoman Luistro, maybe we can ask Attorney Sanchez, because I noticed that her name was included in that document.
Ms. Sanchez, Attorney Sanchez,
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor.
do you confirm that Vice President Robredo has good governance program also?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Would you
Your Honor.
confirm that under Vice President Robredo's good governance program, there is no confidential fund?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And
Your
would you further confirm that under Vice President Robredo's good governance program, there is no maintenance of safe houses?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor.
Please enlighten us. Bakit po pagdating sa programa, same program, good governance program of Vice President Duterte, biglang nagkaroon ng confidential fund, biglang nagkaroon ng maintenance of safe houses?
Your Honor, the budget was proposed by the Office of the Vice President, and it would be for different programs, Your Honor. But as to the details, Your Honor, I do not have information on the specific details and items to be spent under the confidential expense.
Would it
Your
be
Honor.
correct to say that the key officials of Vice President Duterte altered the menu of the good governance program of then Vice President Robredo?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I think that would be a possible explanation, Your Honor.
And are they really allowed to alter the program?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, from my understanding, Your Honor, yes, that may be allowed because in the budget of the OVP, there is a general item, Your Honor, only, which is the good governance program.
In other words, Attorney Sanchez, that good governance program is just a nomenclature.
It's like
And as to what will be the menu under the good governance program, that will depend on the Vice President. Am I correct?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, that is my understanding, Your Honor.
And who therefore prepared the program of the good governance program under the time of Vice President Duterte?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, that would be the Office of the Vice President, Your Honor.
Can you please cite the name? Who in particular among the key officials prepared?
Your Honor, I do not have the specific information on who the particular persons who prepared, but the request was submitted to the Budget Division, Your Honor.
Nevertheless, Mr. Chair, in spite of the admission of Attorney Sanchez that they can alter, what is clear, the program Good Governance under Vice President Duterte suddenly include confidential fund and maintenance of safe houses, items which were never seen and which were never included in the program of Vice President Robredo. Am I correct, ma'am?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Another important observation, Mr. Chair, Attorney Sanchez. Last quarter of December 2022, OVP spent 16 million for maintenance of safe houses. Do you confirm?
I have no personal knowledge, Your Honor.
May we know if any one of you has personal knowledge about this? Ms. Villa del Rey?
None, Your Honor.
Nevertheless, let me finish this manifestation. 2022 last quarter, the OVP spent 16 million for maintenance of safe houses. This was followed by 2023 first quarter, another 16 million for maintenance of safe houses. This was followed by 2023 second quarter, another 16 million for maintenance of safe houses. And finally, 2023 third quarter, this time 5 million maintenance of safe houses. The only conclusion that I can derive from 2022 last quarter to the third quarter of 2023, meron kayong informants or assets whom you are keeping in the safe houses that the OVP is renting. The question, however, is, why suddenly, pagdating ng last quarter ng 2023, wala nang expenditure for safe houses or not even for confidential fund? San po napunta yung informant at assets nyo, which you have been keeping in your safe houses from the last quarter of 2022 to the third quarter of 2023? Yun po ba inabandon ng OVP? Yun po ba biglang nag-disappear? I understand that you have no personal knowledge, but at least please give us a reasonable interpretation of what happened. Why suddenly, in the last quarter of 2023, nawala ang maintenance ng safe houses, which means nawala din ang informants at saka assets. Where did they go? Ms. Villa del Rey?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I cannot answer the question since I don't have really knowledge of the utilization of the confidential fund.
Attorney Sanchez?
Your Honor, I also apologize, same as the answer of Ms. Villa del Rey, Your Honor.
Mr. Kevin?
Say, Mr. Chair, I have no knowledge or participation in the utilization of the confidential funds.
Ms. Rabago?
Say, Mr. Chair, I don't have a personal knowledge on the utilization of the confidential
Ms.
funds.
Villa Del Rey, can you at least tell us who has the personal knowledge over these matters?
Based on the JC and based on the issuance of cash advance, it is the special disbursing officer.
Who
as
is?
the accountable officer.
Can you please cite the name of the special disbursing officer?
As shown in the check, Your Honor, it is Ms. Gina Acosta.
And apart from Ms. Gina Acosta, who else has personal knowledge over these matters?
I don't have idea, Your Honor. I
And you
don't have
confirm
knowledge.
that Gina Acosta, the special disbursing officer, whom you described earlier as confidential official with salary grade 24, is one of those who were subpoenaed and who did not appear. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Thank you. I have